What's going on, friends? It's your good buddy SPJ here. It's going to be a really interesting night. You can obviously tell by, this guy over to my right. He's on the right-hand side of the screen. It's my favorite knucklehead of all time, Mr. Ben Coombs. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how y'all doing?
So tonight we're basically just going to. I've decided to put the challenge out. I'm stealing a little idea that I saw from Ryan at 60 Cycle Hum, and I've decided to take this Streamyard broadcast link that I'm using right now to host this little thing, and I've decided to throw it out there in the world of the guitar YouTubers. Put them up to the challenge to come on to SPJ's Guitar YouTuber Battle Royal? ? I doubt we're going to be doing much fighting tonight, Ben, but we might get into some spirited debates about things, but
Well, yeah. I would say, there's not going to be any real brawls between us because, we've always been in that sort of same affiliation and alliance type thing. Those analog heads, managed, yes, in some of my younger days, managed by some of the great titans of the industry, by the great Robert Keeley, the tutelage of Josh Scott and Brian Wampler, and whoo, look out. And we all learned from the mastery of George Trips himself.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we're going to have some fun. We're just going to get to chatting. We're going to kind of wax poetic about things. Hopefully some other friends will show up. But in the meantime, since it's me and Ben, buddy, how you been since we last talked?
Doing good. Finally seeing some of that California weather here. I would say in the last 2 weeks, we've had about 4 hours of rain. And, high humidity, so we get into the 90s each day. Sunshine into the 90s, high humidity. So, yeah.
That's a surprising thing. High humidity and into the 90s. Huh.
Yeah.
But then again, you are kind of on the sort of eastern side of the country. Is that, am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Eastern time zone, and I'm just north of the North Shores of the mighty Lake Ontario, so we get kind of that ocean effect as far as humidity. So
you got that moisture lingering around and here and there. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy to do this and add this person into the stream. Please welcome the one and only Miss Emily from the Get Offset podcast.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Hi, Emily.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
I'd like to introduce you to my buddy Ben Coombs over here.
Hi, Emily.
Ben does
you got a cool background.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We all have some cool backgrounds right now.
Yeah.
How you doing, Emily?
I'm good. Just finished up a project.
Nice. Way to go to finishing up projects.
Yay.
And to koozies that match our shirts.
Nice.
Wow. Beer koozie.
I just realized that.
Beer koozie to match the shirt.
I'll have to throw down a gauntlet myself. Lawrence Petros, if you're watching, we need cozies to go along with your shirts. Just saying.
Beer. My favorite koozie that I've ever gotten as a piece of merchandise was the year that Dunlop at NAMM was just really pushing the fact that it's the anniversary of Tortex, and I managed to grab a orange Tortex beer koozie. It was the last one, and it was the last day of NAMM, and it's I'm holding on to that one.
Nice.
But you're not using it.
Well, I'm drinking coffee right now, so I don't really.
What's your excuse?
What's my excuse? I'm drinking hot stuff, not cool stuff. Leave me alone.
You stay up late, don't you, if you're drinking coffee at 5? My guy.
Man, I said this to somebody in the Keeley Pedals group over the weekend because I was out of town, and Robert kind of was like, tell me the ideas that you want. And I'm like, do we have enough coffee to go around with all the ideas that I have? And someone made a joke, and I was just like, I'm pretty sure the stuff has replaced my blood by now. That's how much I drink in a day.
I am a half a pot kind of guy. How about y'all?
I do 1 cup of coffee in the morning and then usually 2 to 3 cups of tea throughout the afternoon and evening.
You sound like my husband. That's his move. It's a pretty pro move.
Yeah.
Somehow I went from coffee and beer to wine and tea in the last 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I'm definitely in like the 2 cups in the morning and maybe like, standard size coffee cup. And then I'll bust out the big mug in the afternoon. But it honestly, because I have so much coffee paraphernalia, it kind of just depends on like, what kind of coffee do I feel like in the afternoon? Filled with rage. There you go. I
have a problem with leaving mugs like everywhere. I have 4 beverage vessels near my desk right now. Did you just vape, Ben?
I did.
All right.
No judgment here.
I got a shout out. I see Randy Upchurch in the chat. Jason Wade. I was thinking about Jason Wade earlier today. I hadn't seen him in a little while. Great to see Jason Wade in here. And Bent Tom, he says he's like me with solo coffee and then all tea. But then I'm like Bent Tom after 8 p.m. Actually, let's be honest. Once the workday's done, and today's workday was done at 1 p.m. So
that's kind of one of the benefits of what we do and all is that our hours are not the hours of the rest of the world. So,
Yeah, I can kind of do what I want when I want, which is kind of the best.
It is. Yeah. Just a quick shout out to DJ over here, catching live streams on vacation. Darren and I were actually messaging last night. I might be getting one of those. He might be sending me his Moore Ocean machine to check out.
Nice.
I'm actually looking forward to that. I tried years ago to get Moore to send me one, but nobody returned my email. It was great.
Yeah, who was that?
It's hard. Some people are harder to get in touch with, I've noticed.
Yes. And you would think it wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
But it is.
I get a kick out of is when you send, a dozen or so emails over a course of a couple of years to a company, and then you give up. And then it's like 6 months later, then that company reaches out to you and they're like, "Hey, buddy, came across your profile. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, check your inbox, folks."
Yeah.
Been going to work with you for 2 years.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. You know what?
However it happens, and that's
exactly.
a good thing.
I've been getting a lot of emails now from like Instagram bot buying, which is really strange.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
But
they never work.
No, of course not. It's not just like bot likes. It's also like verification for a blue check on the profile. And it's like,
man,
why?
The thing is, apparently once you get verified, there's this whole other weird seedy underbelly of Instagram verification, like influencer stuff. I read this weird article about it from a journalist, and it's like this whole like coordinated thing for people with blue check marks to then comment on and like each other's stuff more than anything else and interact with each other. And then there's also some money exchanges. It's very, very like, why? I mean, I guess some people make a lot of money doing that, but I feel like most people just kind of like tread water and kind of do okay, but like don't replace their jobs.
Yeah. Would you say that it kind of has that same feeling of like sub for sub on YouTube?
It's worse than sub for sub.
Okay. Because I've been getting that a lot recently too. Like
I immediately blocked them from my page. They're going to get banned in 5 days anyway. I don't care for their file.
I don't know. I went for the sub for sub automatic bot comment on every video to 18-year-old girls at the 54-second mark of all my videos. And I'm like they do a timestamp and then put in an 18-plus website or something. And I'm like, and hide.
No. Oh, dear.
It's pretty gross.
Oh, dear.
Yikes. At least they're 18.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Yeah. And that's really, what my demographic goes for. It's like, have you seen my demographics, folks?
I mean,
it's just like 99% male. Is that what you mean?
99%, yeah. Upper mid. We'll say even be generous. Upper middle-aged male, and most of them are like, my kids are older than that. Go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tend to go more off of Facebook or Instagram's analytics because people are putting in their own gender and stuff and age there. Facebook does that, but Google literally, people don't really understand how much Google still guesses somebody's gender and age based on their interests.
Yeah.
So if you're someone like Google, I did it a year ago. Google thinks I'm like a 30, 40-year-old guy.
Well, based off the stuff that you're interested in, that's not altogether a wholly inaccurate assumption. But
no, it's a fair assumption, but it's a wrong one that kind of screws with your demographics when you're trying to like show sponsors that, see, my audience is 20% female.
Well, speaking of someone who has dealt with the back end of like Google AdWords and like Facebook advertising and all that stuff, like Google AdWords is just one of the worst possible UIs ever, to the point where
it's not gotten better in years.
No, it's been terrible. It's
AdSense is worse.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's just
LinkedIn ads got really good, but that's not relevant to us, I don't think.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to say, as far as the auto sense on, what advertising they should show to you, apparently YouTube must actually really pay attention to when I play on my live streams, because the day after that, I get inundated with guitar lesson courses. So,
like, aha, you suck at guitar.
They're like, not only did you play 25 cover tunes so badly, we're not going to copyright strike you. We're going to offer you guitar lessons.
Nice.
Musician is the best way to learn and master the guitar. Just grab your acoustic or electric and play along.
It's like Guitar Hero, but real.
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag beer of the week, everybody. Dogfish Head's 120-minute IPA.
Nice.
Ooh. I'm drinking a hopped lemongrass cider from Incline Cider Company.
Oh, that sounds good.
It is really good. I like the field glass.
Calia Alta Cabernet Sauvignon from Argentina.
Yeah. Ooh, I like Argentinian wines.
Yes. It was on sale at the record store, and I like on sale too.
Yeah.
I like on sale. I like a dry red on sale. Give me your cheapest bottle of red.
Pretty much.
No.
Emily, did you say that the cider was dry hopped by chance? Is that what I heard? Okay.
No, I'm sorry, not this one. I have another one that has hops.
Okay.
I lied.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Oh, no, this has hops. I'm sorry, it doesn't say with what kind of hops.
Yeah, it's
fermented apple juice, lemongrass, and hops. Those are the only ingredients.
Wow.
Sure. It all works.
Speaking of...
They have a cute UPC label.
Oh, I like that.
Nice.
I like when places do that, yeah.
That's very cool.
As I pour it onto my own computer.
Oh, now Sean's going to be jealous because Bent Tom lives near the Dogfish Head Brewery.
Nice. They just celebrated
it must smell great.
25-year anniversary, which is awesome.
I maintain that any food factory is going to, other than a bakery, is going to smell awful when you walk past it. And I will say there's a chocolate. I used to live in a neighborhood with a chocolate factory. That was the worst offender.
Oh, really?
Something about the roasted cacao beans just smelled so bad. I would bike right past it and just dry heave.
I used to work next door to a chocolate factory, and downwind next door, no less. So
it smells bad, right?
I smell of sour milk first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and it smells burnt sometimes.
Yep.
Like they did a lot of really dark chocolate, and I think they worked with coffee too. But yeah, still nothing's worse than a paper mill.
Yeah.
Nothing in the world.
Oh my god. Okay, my wife is from a town where the main business is a paper mill, and when we would go and visit her parents, we stayed with them one time for a couple days. Oh my god, the paper mill was active at night, and we had the window open because it's so friggin' hot in the summer, and every breath you take in is like this pins and needles breath through your entire sinus cavity, where you're just like, I can't, I'm choking. This is the worst.
There's a pulp factory that's actually just shutting down north of my hometown, and my sister used to live across the river from it. And as soon as I get out of the car, I'm like, why do I smell nothing but Miracle Grow? That's all I can smell. It just it smells like plant food, Miracle Grow, and I'm just like, oh, this is terrible.
Ben
Tom.
Tom.
That's for sure. So that can't be good for him.
I saw under Ben Tom someone's talking about Tacoma's old mills. I always heard that Fife made the smell that Tacoma gets blamed for, but what do I know?
Yeah.
We also had a creosote factory in town. Talk about smell. Ooh.
Ugh.
Jesus. I don't miss living in an industrial center.
No.
Yeah.
For a while, we would periodically rehearse in this really crazy crunk town called Vernon, which is just south of downtown LA. And the rehearsal studio was a stone's throw from the, wait for it, Farmer John Slaughterhouse.
Oh.
And for some reason, we had the unfortunate privilege of rehearsing on Tuesdays and Thursday nights almost always every time that we rehearsed there, which were always the nights that they did their slaughtering.
What kind of sounds or smells it comes with that? Okay,
no sounds were heard because obviously we're in a rehearsal studio. Oh. But when you exit out, the best way we could describe it was dead bacon. Because you could definitely smell like that lingering scent of like smoking meat, but then it was mixed with this sort of, you know how to classify something as kosher, the animal has to be killed in some sort of humane fashion.
Right.
This smelled like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
So the last time I went to a Dodger game, which of course Farmer John makes the Los Angeles Dodgers famous Dodger dog, I could not stomach eating a Dodger dog. It was just like, I can't do it.
I don't blame you.
Can't do it. That's
awful.
That was 5 years after we stopped practicing in Vernon.
Wow.
And now we drink to forget.
Drink to forget.
So what
that sounds very healthy.
Yep. Exactly. Of course it's healthy. So what have you guys been working on recently?
I've been doing a lot of writing this week for some publications, not all of them music related.
Cool.
No.
Ben, what have you been working on?
What did I do? Did some demos, the usual fun stuff, and serviced some amps. So more of these amps are hooked up than they were last week because I was getting people on my live streams that, hey, can you plug into that amp? I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta grab a speaker cable from the workshop. They're like, that's what you said 6 months ago. I'm like, yeah, I still gotta grab that cable from the next room that I keep forgetting. Yeah, okay. So yeah, a bunch of stuff this week. Shot some demos and set up. I'm waiting on a new pedal that's on its way.
What pedal?
What are you
talking about? It?
Oh, what is it? It's the new one it's released from Eastwood.
Oh, the
giant
Valco Blood Buzz.
Oh. Yeah, I just demoed that on bass. It was fun. Yeah. Nothing can prepare you for how big it is.
Man.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying with like the random emails, I got a random email last week from the president of Eastwood saying, "Hey, would you like to work together?" And I said, "Of course. I dig Eastwood products." And he said, "How about you start with the pedal and we'll go from there."
See, I would love to do stuff with Eastwood and almost did do stuff with Eastwood, but they asked me to do something that I was not altogether comfortable doing. So it's like, oh, well, guess that's not going to happen. Oh, my God, look at that thing. It's as big as her.
It's too big.
Nice.
It's entirely too big. Let me open it up really quickly.
So it's a fuzz and drive. Oh my God.
Ooh. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. You hide your weed in there.
Oh,
it's made in
really great.
Made in Canada.
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't need to hide it. It's legal here.
Yeah, I know. I did some like instructional videos and articles for Eastwood a couple years ago.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, ironically, I forgot The title of the email was "Fellow Canuck with Guitars."
Nice.
Because the president of Eastwood lives in Brampton, Ontario, just west of Toronto. So he said we want to increase our Canadian presence, so they reached out to the Canuck with Guitars.
Nice.
I don't know. Emily was asking if they were based out of the UK, but I always remember them being like at least on this side of the Atlantic.
They have 3 showrooms now. They have London, England, Chicago, and Nashville. Although technically the Nashville showroom is part of the Novo factory. I think it's just in the Novo side, in the front of their factory.
What a weird decision.
Yeah. So ironically enough, for a Canadian guy that owns the company, he doesn't have a presence in Canada. So that's what he wants to change. So raise the profile. Unfortunately, he's got a bunch of gear just sitting at his house, and he's like, "Do you mind if I just send you gear from my house?" I'm like, "Hell no."
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Why would I mind?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to come in a very large box for you.
Nice.
I love so many of the guitars that they make, because obviously, like, they were the only people at the time making, after the White Stripes hit, they were doing that guitar that Jack White was always famous for.
Right.
But I just love all these like slightly esoteric reissues that they do.
Yeah.
Like the Uniboxes, and even like, they've done some Gresh styled instruments.
Well, who doesn't want a 12-string Mosrite with a tremolo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who doesn't want a mandolin lap steel?
Who wouldn't want a mandolin?
Who doesn't want a tenor guitar? I do.
That's one of those guitars that you literally have in the arsenal because someday.
Oh, I play mine all the time.
Oh, well, maybe you do.
See, I like to drop bass notes anyway when I'm playing, because I have a bassist.
Right.
And they like it when you drop the bass notes. So I'm like, well, they're going to make me stay on the top 5 strings. All I need are the top 4.
My last bass player used to yell at me all the time for that, because he could, like if he forgot the next chord in a song, because I would never play root notes, especially because I would get hand cramps playing bar chords.
Yeah,
I'd never play root notes. And he's like, "Will you play a damn root note so I know what chord you're playing?" I said, "I don't need to play root notes." "Why?" I said, "I have you for that."
That's your job. You should learn the song.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, you knew the song 3 years ago when we performed it. How do you not know it 3 years later? But then again, that band, a lot of the members led a certain lifestyle as such, and we never learned songs sober because we never performed them sober.
Yeah,
I have a rule: one drink before the show, get you loose, and then don't screw you up.
I would usually have, towards the end, 2 large drafts over the course of 4 sets.
Wow.
That's not bad. How many? Wait. What? How many?
2 large draft beer.
Yeah, that's nothing.
No.
I've definitely drank more at shows.
Unfortunately for me, when it comes to show days, I'm always the guy who's like head roadie, basically. So I'm the guy who has to pack up the van. I'm the guy who knows like the majority of the setup. So for me, it's like I can't do anything. I can't relax until the van is packed up.
Yeah.
See, my husband is the band dad, so unless he's working and unable to help us, typically he not on tour, of course. We kind of trade spaces on tour, but our drummer doesn't drink, so.
Yeah, our drummer never really drank much. Bass player partied a lot. The other guitar player, myself, yeah, because we'd only have the 2 beers. Now between the 3 of us, there was probably 25 joints smoked over the course of the night.
I was about to say I'm the drinker, but I smoke the least weed.
Well, that was the funny part. The last couple shows, we had brought in a new singer for the last 2 shows, and she was a very hardcore Christian and a substitute school teacher, elementary school teacher. And she joined in, and after our first practice, and she went, "I really don't care for any of your lifestyles, but you guys are a hell of a backing band."
Wow.
And we're like,
I've gotten that from a singer too.
He's like, "I don't really care for your lifestyle either, but you got a hell of a voice." So,
man, I was in this like cover band for a while after college, and there was a woman in the band who she was really religious, so she didn't we would be like, let's play, because we did want to do the kind of dancey, like popular songs. So like, well, let's do the Divinyls, I Touch Myself. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. And I was like, what about Take It Off by the Donna? She's like, not going to do that. I'm like, well, I'll sing Take It Off. I think I can sing as well as, you know, the singer of that band. She's like, you're not going to sing it either. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yep.
Nobody was going to sing that song. She just didn't want us to play it.
Mm.
I'm like, but that song is good.
That's one of the things that's hard for me, being a guy who is like, he's found how he's going to, you know, reconcile his faith with everything else as I used to get told all the time. You live in the secular world, and it's like, okay, who gives?
I like it here.
Who gives a rat's ass? I like the music. Like, can't you just stop being Judgy McJudgerstein for a little bit and just appreciate the fact that, like, at least I'm not some sort of like drug addict lying in the gutter somewhere?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm like, I just like to have 3 gin and tonics. Like, I got married when I was 25. Overall, I live a pretty clean lifestyle.
Exactly. It's like, hey, you're going to judge me. I'm not going to judge you. So, you know, we're just here. Exactly. We're just here for the music. Who cares what brought you here? And you don't hurt anybody else.
Gonna make a quick shout out.
Not hurting anybody else.
Gonna make a quick shout out to my my wrestling podcast co-host, Mr. AJ Moore and Garguts. What's up, you dirty Mark?
The dirtiest
of Marks. Yeah, for some reason.
I haven't watched wrestling in so long.
Man, we literally within like 2 weeks decided we were going to start a podcast, and we started it. So it's a thing now. So
it's your only podcast. I forget, because I'm a podcaster.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to start a podcast. I have a couple podcast ideas I want to workshop. Can I workshop one of them with you?
Let's workshop podcast.
Yes.
I was going to say, because I just started a new podcast 2 weeks ago too. So
nice. Well, my full-time podcast is Get Offset. It's doing great, but I have a friend, Michelle, and I just like talking to her a lot. So we were trying to figure out what we want to podcast about. And one idea I had is called What Happened? The podcast that tries to answer the question you ask yourself in the mirror every morning. And then we would just talk to people about where they think their lives like went wrong or changed versus what their like intended trajectory in life was. Like, what happened?
I usually blame the 90s because I don't really remember the 90s.
See, I can't blame the 90s, though I don't remember a lot of them either. Different reasons.
I can't remember some parts of the 90s because I was under the age of 7. So
yeah, for me, from what I've been told, I had a good time.
I was born in 87, so
I was born in 89. You're the same age as my husband.
Oh, you guys are just punk kids.
I know. Well, I'm 31. I'm a punk kid. Nice. I thought I was past that.
Well, let's see.
Robert
Baker just turned 31 this week, and I called him a punk kid on his birthday post. So
nice. Yeah. Well, fine. Sure.
Yeah.
I'll take my wins where I can get them.
I kind of like
my you look youngs.
There we go.
I kind of like that idea, though. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
I like that.
Yeah, what happened? Like, what even if they're back on track, like, what derailed you from, like, writing a novel for 30 years? And see, like, what they say. And just kind of try to keep it light for a podcast about how your life went wrong. The other one that we still this idea, oh God, what was the band? There was a woman who, you know, the Knack song.
Did we lose Emily?
No.
Wait.
Oh my God.
You froze up for a minute, so you were asking if we heard a song.
Oh Tara by the Knack.
I'm pretty sure people have only heard My Sharona by the Knack.
Well, that's not true. But the person that song is about ended up marrying Patti Smith's brother. But she was very famous. Well, she was not. Well, there are a couple of things that she's famous for. Like, you know, when Sid Vicious got arrested for murdering Nancy Spungen, his last like public appearance was at this punk show, and she was the drum tech for the band, whose name is just escaping me. And Sid Vicious was trying to hit on her like while she was working during the show. So Todd, Patti Smith's brother, goes up and says, who's dating her and will later marry her, hey, can you just wait until like she's not working to hit on her if you're going to be this way? So Sid then breaks a bottle over Todd's head. Todd has to go to the hospital, and Todd was just doing the band a favor because normally he's, you know, the tour manager, but he was helping his girlfriend's band out. So she was one of the first, if not the first, drum techs in the world. So I just kind of want to figure out who she is and if she's still kicking and what she has. Gotta have the best stories, right?
Yeah. I feel like, so I don't know if he's going to end up coming on, but I sent the link to a buddy of mine who's the tech for Atreyu right now. But it's funny when we get together or like we'll talk, because he's got some of the most insane stories that it's just like the only way that you could possibly believe some of these stories is if you're involved in the industry. Like
they're believable if you're involved and they're crazy if you're not.
Yeah.
Scarfish was the band. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Scarfish.
Oh my God. That's amazing. That is amazing. I don't know. I kind of want to hear this podcast idea that you're talking about.
The what happened?
Yeah, I think I want to hear at least 1 or 2 episodes of that.
I think it'd be funny. Do you want to be on it? What happened, Sean?
I don't know. What do you want to know? What happened?
When you were 15, where did you see your life going?
Well, let me just make a couple quick shout outs before I answer that question. Because Diego Urena, my buddy from MI, is here. Hey, Diego. Good to have you here, buddy. And this guy just showed up in the chat, and I'm guessing that this is the one and only Mr. Charlie Cooper from Orange Amplifiers. How you doing?
Hey, Charlie.
Good to have you here.
I like Orange Amplifiers.
I love Orange Amplifiers.
I see. I have a Micro Terror, and I really enjoyed having it, especially when I was in an apartment.
Nice.
I'm currently between Orange Amplifiers.
Well, we need to fix that.
Yes.
Where is my life? Where at 15 is my life where I thought it would be? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Because, see what happened?
Well, what happened? I'll tell you exactly what happened. I have no shame in telling what happened. Basically, up until the age of 14, I wanted to be a professional wrestler.
Ooh.
And I got on stage the first time and played in front of an audience. And it's like, okay, this is cool. I think I like this better because I don't have to be super athletic. So that's
or get beat up on a little. Your body still gets abused, but in different ways.
Yes. So that
my shoulder makes a great noise when I lift it up.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Diego has given a super chat. Yay! Thanks, Diego.
And I'm looking at an animated chicken saying, "How's it going?" Inset super sticker.
Nice.
Oh, cute.
Aaron, Mr. Albus Band is here saying he wrestles. So
you wrestle.
Yeah, honestly, like at the age of 15, I was still just trying to figure out like what did I want to do musically? Like, did I want to just get involved in the business, or did I actually want to be just like a performer and start a band? Because most of the guys that I went to school with didn't play the kind of music that I had in my head like I wanted to play. Whereas most of them were like really getting into like the super like proto hipster LA music scene. And then the other half was like totally emo, screamo, that kind of stuff. Like I liked everything. So for me, it was just trying to figure out what in the world do I even want to do? And then all these years later, still finding myself straddling these two worlds of like having this wrestling podcast. I'm involved in paying more attention to the wrestling business than I think is comfortable. And on the other hand, it's I'm doing YouTube videos. YouTube wasn't a thing when I was 15.
No, same.
So, dude, the internet wasn't a thing when I was 15.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I bet you just didn't know about it.
Yeah. So it's just like your life at 15 was completely different. I didn't know where it was going to take me. And it's not necessarily like any sort of life-changing thing really happened. It was just more, at that point, I was just trying to figure out, what do I really want out of being involved in the industry? And now that it's 15 plus years later, it's like, I'm involved in the industry in some way. That's pretty fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. No. What about you, Ben? What happened?
Yeah, exactly. Not much, actually. I would say a lateral move.
Has this turned into like the pilot episode of What Happened?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the pilot episode of What Happened with your host, Emily Harris.
The question that tries to answer the question you ask yourself in the mirror every morning. At 15?
That would have been 1989. I was looking at the unsurmountable mountain known as Shredder Guitarist at the time, because LA was still the king, and nobody had really heard of grunge yet or anything like that. We had some rumblings of a genre known as college music, which was your REMs,
your Replacements, your Husker Du.
Exactly. Yes,
yeah.
And which I really wasn't aware of at that time. I was into glam rock, classic rock, blues kind of thing, and I was figured I was going to move out to Vancouver, British Columbia, which was our version of Seattle, and that's where all my older friends were moving out. And I was going to move out there, start a band, and hopefully make it big. Hopefully, be somewhere in the industry. But, of course, like say, there was no YouTube, there was no internet or anything, and I thought, maybe, write a column for a magazine as a fallback or something like that, maybe.
A column is the entire career.
Yeah.
It used to be. That used to pay the bills. It's amazing how the world has changed. It's sad.
I want to bring up this comment from Charlie, because Charlie is the son of founder of Orange Amplifiers, Cliff Cooper. He didn't even think that he was going to be working at Orange. He did animation at university. So,
that's what my brother did.
Yeah, I'm not going to work for you, Dad.
Well, animation doesn't really exist like it used to.
No.
It doesn't.
My brother went to college for animation. Well, like illustrated, like 2D.
Glam rock. I agree, Charlie. We need more glam rock.
More T-Rex. Can never have enough T-Rex.
It's just animation technically exists like it used to, but it's like it's all been farmed out to places where you can get cheaper labor.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, from my generation, like, I'm in my mid 40s. So, like, if I had left high school in the early 90s and went straight into audio engineering, where they were still working with tape at the time, I would have had to relearn all again. So even if I went to school for animation at the time, you were still physically drawing stuff. There was no computer animation or anything like that. So two different industries, but both would have had to relearn an awful lot around the same time frame.
Wait, so you were 15 in 89. I mean, digital recording was still really a big deal in the mid 80s. I mean, Brother in Arms was a digitally recorded album. I think Prince moved to it pretty quickly too. I mean, really, it's kind of the same like
the big album.
Any engineer worth his or her weight in salt can manage a console from today or from 86.
Digital, I think, was 1992, 93 range. I can't remember the exact year, but when Billy Idol did a cyberpunk album, which was all done on a Macintosh in his dining room.
Yeah.
And that was after one of his bad motorcycle crashes where, he was on crutches in a cast for like a year plus. So he just set up a home recording studio in his dining room, had a Macintosh computer with this program called Pro Tools, and did the cyberpunk album.
That's awesome.
It's really interesting because like the early days of digital recording, like AJ Garguts and I were talking off air on our podcast about just like the infancy of digital recording and how like a lot of those early digital recordings, like the the software just wasn't quite what we know of it as today. So even though it was around, like, I definitely understand, Ben, your whole thing of like, you would have learned one skill set, but at the very same time, this new skill set would have to be very quickly learned and adapted to, because it was on the horizon. It may have not have been as perfect as it could be, but the potential for it was there.
And really, like, the transition from tape to digital, like, it really is all the same basics. I mean, we learned both in college when I went to Belmont and studied music business. Yeah. I think they did a slightly better job, like, making sure we understood how to cut tape, and then they did making sure we understood that Spotify was that music streaming was going to happen. So it's like, obviously that's retroactive kind of thing, and I mean, using an at-home DAW is a lot like, I mean, I can literally use Pro Tools if I wanted to, though I really hate Pro Tools a lot. It's kind of the same building blocks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't remember when in the 80s digital really started, but I just remember Brothers in Arms being one of the first, like, hit records that was recorded digitally. But
and they made a big deal out of that.
Yeah, that's very different than being, like, at a home computer. That's like the past 50 years of technology didn't advance as fast as the 6 years after that.
Yeah.
The whole technological advance thing brings up an interesting thing that I saw today in some sort of guitar Facebook group today. Somebody was asking, what are the greatest innovations in guitar over the course of the last 20 years?
20 years?
20 years. So as in 2000 to 2020. And I actually was able to think of
that's 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So I was actually able to think of a few things that I was like, this kind of stuff is truly innovative. It may not necessarily be something that could only happen now, but the fact that it happened now versus it happened 20 years prior to this, 20-year block that they were looking for, that was really the thing. And it's like, I was thinking about the fact that we've been talking about digital recording, just the idea that digital recording now is so easy, so accessible, so easy to do, that my first recording interface was, like, a good recording interface was a Digi 003 rack mount interface. It was
rack mounts, yeah.
It was 2 rack mount units tall and only had 8 inputs. Now I have a PreSonus Studio 192 that can record up to 192K, has 8 inputs of audio, and also has digital I/O that I can then use another 8-channel digital I/O mic preamp to get up to 16 channels of audio into multi-track.
At once?
At once.
You don't need that? Do you need that?
I do, because I can record drums here.
Yeah, I can't record drums where I am.
I'm fully set up to be able to record drums, but, like, that big silver chunk right there is all all my mic in and mic outs. And I have other outboard stuff too, but
it probably costs the same as the one you got in high school, right?
I mean, the technology is much smaller. It's cheaper to produce. It's, now, and, Charlie from Orange was here a little while ago. They have a USB interface that fits into a mini pedal enclosure. We're starting to see more like that.
Yeah. Tysco has one too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. They did just have one announced at the NAMM show. Speaking of which, I talked about Charlie Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome this bloke right here.
Hey,
this is Charlie Cooper from Orange.
Hello.
How you doing, Charlie?
Pretty good. I heard you talking about our interface. I thought I'd jump in.
Yeah.
That was I gotta say, that was kind of a really cool thing that you guys did, like bringing back the OMEC branding and kind of dipping your foot into the digital world, because you guys have always been so staunchly, and talking to your dad about it, especially, like, you guys are almost always analog. So
yeah, I mean, like years and years ago, I did this product called the Orange OPC, and it was a digital, or it was essentially like a ultimate computer mod. So it was like a Orange amplifier that had a Windows PC in it. And I remember I remember being at Frankfurt Music Mess. We were at a trade show and we were releasing it. And we also released, I think at the same time, the Dark Terror, and we had some new PPC 4x12 cabinets. And I had a really small, like, little table with a OPC on it. And this was like my first trade show. I remember people coming up to me saying, "Hey, Orange just do analog stuff. Are you now going to start doing that loser, boring digital crap?" And I was like, "Well, we've got new amps. Like, everything here is an amplifier. There's just this one Orange OPC, which is called a computer." And so I just remember lots of people getting upset with us, saying, "Well, I know Orange to be an analog brand, and so now you're doing this digital thing. Now it's confusing." So, well,
it's like when Kodak, they took too long to get into digital and they got left behind.
Yeah. So, we need to keep moving forward, but it's true that everything that our designer Adrian does is all about analog purist. He's probably like a proper 70s guy, and he designs it kind of for that old rock and roll audience, but he uses modern ways to design it. So, more recently, we had a guy called Danny Gomez come to the company.
And he came up Danny.
He's a great guy, and he came up with the idea for what was then codenamed the N1M1, I think, which was what we now call the OMEC Teleport. And so he said, "Hey, I've got this digital pedal. It's essentially like an audio interface, but I've changed the form factor, so it's really easy to take on tour. You can use it in the studio, you can use it where you like." And I just remember thinking, like, this is a really good product, but if we did this under the brand Orange, people are going to think that, Orange, like, what's digital and what's analog with their products. So I know that I'd recently finished doing a book about the company, and that's kind of how I got interested in.
Oh wow!
And through doing that, I learned about OMEC, which was a forgotten brand that my dad started in the 70s. And the idea behind that brand was, my dad had all these ideas to do like digital products, and he was trying to always do the next big thing. But OMEC was like a big flop. It was terrible digital technology in its infancy. It didn't sound as good as, I mean, if you think about the complaints that people had maybe 20 years ago, saying that no way, like software would never sound as good or close to good as like analog equipment. And now we're starting to see a bit of blurring of the lines there. Just think of digital technology in its infancy and how bad that sounded. But, it's had to start somewhere. So my dad's asked someone to design a digital amplifier with just that, a very quick brief. And someone came up with the world's first digital programmable amplifier, which he called the OMEC Digital in 1974, I think it was. So it was a big flop. It was too expensive. It didn't sound good, but it was the first digital amplifier, and Orange at one point owned the patent for that, which we lost in the 90s through politics stuff. So I thought, okay, well, this is a good opportunity to bring that brand back. So how about if we just make it look like the original OMEC products in the 70s, bring that whole kind of like new age Space Odyssey 2001, what my dad thought the future would look like, which ironically looks really retro now, and use that as kind of like a brand style, and then we can then build on OMEC for digital products, and then Orange, we can keep analog and pure, so there's no confusion between the two brands.
And for those of you curious about it, Charlie, that's the Book of Orange that you were working on, correct?
Took me 3 years.
Nice. And for those of you interested, copies are still out there, I believe. And I can attest it makes a fantastic coffee table book and conversation piece. I actually got your dad to sign my copy of it. and it holds a nice little prized spot on the coffee table at home.
We've I think because we have sold out now, and I mean you might find a few places on Reverb.com or like eBay, but essentially what we've done now is we've most of the chapters of that book we've just added to the history area of our website. So if you can't find a copy, just go to orangeamps.com and click it out there.
Mine has the fuzzy orange cover, and I'm rather proud of that.
So I'll tell you the motivation behind the fuzzy cover.
Yeah, go for it.
That's a bit from my animation degree. A book that I studied was a book called Pixar, A Life Behind Pixar Animation.
Nice.
And that had a green fuzzy cover, which I just loved. And I was like,
fantastic.
So I kind of borrowed that idea for this.
Fantastic. I love it. It's, to me, the orange fuzzy cover just fits with everything that I'd ever kind of associated with you guys, because that sort of eye-catching thing, but then like you get it in your hands and it's this very tactile kind of cool vibe that you instantly just feel some sort of strange connection to it. And obviously, like, as long as I've been doing this, you know, your guys' stuff has always been part of it. So for me, like, furthering that connection, it made a lot of sense, and it really touched me in a deep feels place. Oh man, how have you been doing it with everything, Charlie? You guys doing all okay over there in the UK?
Yeah, I live in central London. We're kind of in the midst of like the pandemic. I guess we were very worried about how what will happen at the start of the pandemic. So we're thinking, okay, well, this isn't good. Like, how are we going to survive this?
Yeah.
It's kind of like been different with everyone. Like, we found a lot of people who are stuck at home have been taking up guitar as a hobby, which is really good, because we thought people would just be staying home playing computer games and no one would really think about purchasing a guitar or picking up an amplifier. But depending on which territory, I mean, some territories are doing all right, some are doing differently, but in general, people starting to find a lot of our like smaller, low wattage amplifiers and even our guitar pedals as like perfect products to play at home. So we found that people are trying out the Micro Dark, the Micro Terra, a lot of our Crush 12, 20 RT amplifiers, and a lot of people actually just I know we've had orange pedals for a while now, but I still hear that people are still discovering, they're hearing, oh, orange do pedals? I had no idea. Like, yeah, we've been trying to tell everyone about them, but there's people like taking notice because they're looking for like small pots for home.
I will say there is one interesting thing about orange pedals. You can't find them anywhere on the used market.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, for me, orange pedals is kind of all summed up in the fur coat. Mostly because when Charlie and I first met and we started talking, we were trying to figure out, how is this relationship going to evolve? Obviously, there's history, but let's see what we can work out. And obviously, pedals being a small product, it's a very natural thing to go to first. But you guys had released the fur coat maybe like 6 months before. You still weren't able to send me one for another 4 to 5 months after we first met and started talking. That is, to this day, remains the one fuzz pedal outside of maybe like a really good Big Muff that I can plug this into any amplifier and it's just like, oh yeah, that's something special. And it's just, I've literally seen people try to sell it for like well more than what you guys sell it for at retail. It is insane. But yeah, let's see.
I think A tried to like when we did pedals, a lot of people, a lot of fans and customers just thought, oh, here's yet another guitar amp company who are just going to like throw do just a range of pedals, not put much attention to them and not put much focus on them. But Adrian literally like he's probably like a boutique builder to some extent. So he put a lot of thought into those pedals, and I mean they sound beautiful. And you note on the fur coat and a lot of those later pedals, we actually removed our orange logo from all of the artwork.
That's true.
Yeah, I remember Adrian telling me saying, well, the early pedals we did, the sales were just kind of a bit slow. And we thought, well, we want someone to pick up a pedal and say, that looks cool, play it, and then say, oh my God, that sounds awesome. At first, we thought what was happening was people looked at the pedal, saw a Guitar Amp Company logo, ignored it, went on to a boutique pedal. So we thought for our newer pedals, we just removed the logo and just made it all about the artwork and less about the orange brand.
Nice.
Yeah. So guys, at this point in the video, for those of you watching and are curious for watching later, I'm going to start sharing some links to some of these orange pedal demos that I've done because not only do I love orange amplifiers in and of itself because the Rock Reverb has been my go-to since I was 20 years old, but the pedals have honestly served as amazing tools for me, not only in the studio working on tracks, but live as well. So I will be sharing those in the comments section. Please go watch them. And if you do not believe us chatting about them right now, having used them as an Orange Amps user, I can attest none of them have been sold. None of them that I own. They are all remaining in my collection. So you'll be seeing
even when a guy travels all the way from Canada to buy pedals off you, you can't buy orange pedals off you.
You wanted to buy one of them off me. I can't remember which one, but you wanted to buy one of them, and I wouldn't let you.
Yeah. I tried.
He tried. Try as he might, but you will never get that fur. Nobody will ever get that fur coat because I don't have anything that's like a Fox tone machine.
Yeah.
And that's the only one that I've come across that's like, that does exactly what I want a Fox tone machine to do.
Yep.
Have you been able to compare it to the Teisco fuzz? Isn't that like based on a Fox tone machine?
I'm still trying to get in touch with the folks at Teisco. I would love to do some comparisons. Obviously, like now that it seems like demo work is slowing down just a little bit, and I can start to do the content that I have a little bit more fun, quote unquote, doing. I'm hoping to do more comparisons where I can do my my Stompbox Smackdowns, and so that definitely is high on the list. Like getting a bunch of fuzz pedals and kind of comparing, contrasting them. So
I just want to throw out to Charlie as well. I just want to say one of those mini terrors into a 412 cab is a secret sauce for a bass for punk music. Like, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, whenever I play bass, it's always 10s or 15s. And then a buddy of mine's like, try a 412 guitar cab, man. I was like, really? Oh, my God. Yeah, 412s, orange with a bass. Oh, forget about it.
I have a photo of Sleep, and you know they have that wall of orange, right?
Oh yeah.
There's no dummies there.
Oh yeah.
One of the gigs, I think it was Alex or someone sent me a photo of an extra amplifier that was plugged into a 412, and it was a micro dark.
Nice.
Man, Matt Pike's wall of orange is some sort of glorious nonsense.
Yeah. It's offensively loud. That's what I can say.
That was actually one of the things that Alex told me in one of our many conversations. He's just like, I physically hurt because of how loud it was.
Not worth it. Not worth it. Sorry.
No, it's totally worth it, Emily.
It's worth it.
Well, on that note, I gotta bounce.
All right, Emily. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Great meeting you, Emily.
Bye.
Oh yeah, offensively loud. That's how we like our Orange Amps tone here in the world.
And I love the pairing of Glenn Hughes with you guys as well. Like that's it. That's class act right there. Because Glenn is just such a great soul and hooked up with a very soulful company. And I just went, yes, I love this.
Yeah. Glenn was I think it was at a Summer NAMM show, and he was walking by the Orange booth, and he was like, "Oh, I know that brand. I know Orange." So he went in and said, "Oh, can I try out some of your amps?" And I think Aid was in there, or our old MD at the time, Damon Waller, and he just tried out the 8200, fell in love with it, and he's been using it ever since. He just loves it.
One of my fondest Orange-related memories is being asked by your U.S. offices to sort of act as a conduit, if you will, between between Glenn and the Crush bass combos. We did a little video shoot out in LA.
I remember that because we were editing it in the UK, but that video, yeah.
Yeah, that was a time and a half. That was a great day. But I could tell instantly that even though that was it's a solid state bass combo, it's not the 8200, it's not the things that he normally uses, you could sense that there was an immediate bond. He just started playing, and it was effortless for him.
Yeah.
That, I think, is a great testament to what you guys are doing and continue to do, is that no matter what it is that you guys are putting out, the people that know the Orange sound and know the Orange tone and know the way that it feels to play one of those, there's no disconnect, whether it's, tube analog or solid state analog.
Well said, Sean. I agree on that. Good, bad, or otherwise, when I plug into an Orange, sounds like an Orange. I can't say that for every other amp company. Especially, fellow British amp companies, they release a model. I can't dial in my tone. I plug into an Orange. You just have to ballpark the dials. I don't even have to dial it in, just ballpark it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, because that's what I sound like through an Orange. Like, immediately, you know exactly what you get, which I think, like, if I was doing fly-in dates, I would probably set up everything specifically for Orange for that reason, because, like, just give me an Orange. Okay, no, doesn't matter. Just give it, make sure it has reverb. That's all I ask.
Yeah, that is. I think Adrian makes a point when he designed in an Orange amplifier that it can do the early AC/DC albums. If you can't do those albums, then it's not an Orange, essentially.
Right.
Yeah. I actually think he's said that in at least one video that I've done with him at a NAMM show. It's like he always goes for that, like, Angus or Malcolm sound first and foremost, and then tries to see how far he can push it depending on the amp that he's working on.
Yeah.
I actually want to address some of the things that are coming up in the chat. First off, from Garguts, I spent hours playing an Orange amp at NAMM. I didn't think I'd like tweaking with it as much as a Rev amp. So I guess that what he's saying is that Rev kind of gets him the sound that he probably enjoys more and enjoys tweaking a little bit more. But, being able to get the chance to play your guys' stuff, he found himself really enjoying the process. And then DJ actually has something. Really hoping Orange comes out with a stereo in and out version of the Pedal Baby in the near future, which I can't remember if I was talking to you about this, Charlie, or if it was somebody else, because the idea when you guys put out the Rocker 15 Terror head, I want to say I heard Henning kind of like, why isn't this the Rocker 30 amp? Why isn't it this? Why isn't it that? Yes, I did a little.
I gotta say, that's a terrible impression. It's hilarious.
It is, but I'm trying not to do an impression.
Well, you got the pissed off factor.
We love you, Henning, if you're watching.
Yes, we do love you, Henning. Actually, there's photos of me licking Henning because, that's how you avoid NAMM public service. Since Henning licks everything at NAMM, just lick Henning. That's what I did.
Well, I would say in 2020, that's how you avoid getting COVID.
That's what I did. I licked Henning, and I was fine.
But I remember that being kind of a thing, like, because obviously another thing that I've done through this relationship with Orange is doing a video for you guys with Guitar Center on the Rocker amplifiers. And you have the Rocker 15 combo, you have the Rocker 32 combo. But the one thing that I found with folks when it comes to the Rocker 32 is because it is a very true stereo amplifier in that it has two separate power amps. I recall Aid actually trying to justify the reasoning to him of why they went with the mono 15 watt, and it made a lot of sense to me because there's sort of a disconnect amongst guitar players, not all of them, but some of them, where everything just kind of runs one in, one out. And very few people veer into this territory of stereo in to a stereo out. But even so, he does bring up an interesting idea. Do you think it would be at least possible?
I remember around that time, I think one of the things Adrian said was there was concern that if a user plugged in one of the, like, just the left channel, like on the stereo amp, and didn't plug in the other, but that there's a chance you could overload one of the power transformers.
Okay.
Like, I remember him saying like he was actually worried that people that it wouldn't be used properly, and then we could end up with a lot of returns.
I'm going to have to agree with Adrian on that one because guitar players are dumb. 30 years experience, folks.
30 years of experience of being a dumbass.
Yep.
I've had to explain to, I mean, with respect to our buyers and customers, I have had to explain what the bass clef on our amplifiers are to bass guitarists a few times.
Somebody call Glenn Fricker. Somebody call Glenn Fricker because he's going to have a fucking field day with that comment.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I believe it.
Honestly, like at this point, I see where DJ is coming from with the idea of suggesting a stereo version of the Pedal Baby, but based off of having one myself and even trying to incorporate it into a guitar rig, it's light enough and it's compact enough that you could still use two and it wouldn't be a problem. Maybe it just it's like a cost thing. Like obviously, it's a single unit, it's mono, it's not stereo. So if you wanted to do stereo, you'd have to get a second one. But it's still like, I don't know. Even if I had to get another one from you guys, I don't think it would be either A, unaffordable, and B, being too large that I couldn't conceive of actually having to do it.
I mean, I'll pass the comment on. I mean, the Pedal Baby it's kind of like a new product for us. We haven't really done just like a clean like power amp before. A lot of products we do are always about coloring the tone as much as possible to make it sound orange. This one colors the tone just a small bit, just to kind of make it sound a bit more friendly for guitars and like as a good pedal platform to help out there. So who knows what the future holds, eh?
Yeah.
Seems to be nothing but good from you guys. That's all I can say.
That's, not to disclose anything that we've talked about in private, Charlie, but that's been one of the interesting things about having this relationship with you guys and being able to talk candidly as friends and colleagues about this kind of stuff is like, I can attest that some of the things that we have talked about in private have definitely led me to believe that whatever you guys have put out already and people are responding to either positively or negatively, you guys are listening to what people are saying. And I can't say that about the majority of the companies, not just right now, but in the past, and I'm sure in the future. So if there's something that you guys are looking for in terms of if nobody makes it and you think Orange could do it, they might even be at this moment thinking about it, maybe not 100% working on it, but the thought might be there already. You just don't know it.
We've had, I guess, like loads of examples in the company where a distributor or like someone said to us, hey, Orange, this thing's selling well. This is doing popular. You should do it too. And most times we're like, well, just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean that we should just do it as well. Because
right,
partly as well, if we just jumped on the bandwagon. That wouldn't be innovative. We'll be late to the game. By the time we have our version of the product out, everyone's moved on to the next big thing. And more times than not, I mean, we find ourselves like if we're trying to copy or just kind of do something else, do something that someone else is directly asking us to do in like a short time frame, we often find ourselves in a position where we might have almost developed something that wasn't better than what was already out there, and then it's like, well, what's the point of releasing it? What's the point of continuing development? So we just kind of cut it right there and then. A lot of the products we do is essentially like we'll say to Adrian, hey, customers are asking for this, or Adrian will be out on tour and he has a lot of friends in the industry who talk to him all the time about ideas. And Adrian will say, okay, I'll develop that, but I'll do my own unique twist on it. So something that's different that no one else is doing.
Right.
Like the, I guess the bass butler that we recently released. That was mate's friend, who's Morgan, who plays in the band Muse. Had a huge like bass rig, and he was doing bi-amping, and he said to Aid, hey, could you basically condense this entire rig into that small pedal? So Adrian kind of designed it with him in mind, and also because we've done the OB1 series, we've done some bi-amping, and a lot of our customers were saying, yeah, we love Orange doing bass gear. So Adrian literally just designed that product, and it's kind of doing really well for us.
Yeah, it's a definitely this year. I felt like you guys gave a lot of airtime, as it were, to the bass players with the little bass thing sitting right here. Great, fantastic sounding bass amp, and then obviously the bass butler that you were just talking about. And honestly, it's like I would often say that I know a piece of gear is truly stellar when my wife comments on it. And obviously, Charlie, you've met my wife, Cinda. Ben, you've met her too. When it comes to sound, she knows just as much about it as I do. And I know that something really is stellar when she makes a comment about it. And when I was testing out the bass butler and the little bass thing, at one point she comes up into the studio and I'm playing around. She's like, wow, that sounds really good. And it's like, yeah, it does sound really good. So I fully anticipate hearing this little guy on some bass tracks in the near future. And if you guys are actually, I would recommend this to anyone that maybe has a project studio, working on songs all the time and don't have a consistently good bass preamp DI box. This has got 2 XLR outputs for the clean and the dirty signal path. Blend them to your heart's content. This is a fantastic little bass preamp DI. So I think you guys definitely created a winner with this. And obviously, as you're saying, and as I've talked to you guys all out there watching, like, you're looking for something and you've made it known to Orange themselves, chances are they're probably thinking about it and maybe have thought about working on something like it. And I think this is a testament to that. This
reminds me of a Sans amp, only cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, Sans amp. Like Sans amp, they make a decent product, but for transparency. But that's cool. That's going to make me sound cool and do the same thing. The Sans amp, I need an extra pedal to sound cool because I got to put the cool factor into the Sans amp. That's all in one. That's cool.
Yeah. The best thing
I didn't realize we could blend the clean and the dirty together like that, Sean.
Yeah, so each channel has its own
badass.
XLR signal path. When you go out of the 1/4 inch out, the amp output, it blends the two. So each has its own little control over it. There's built-in compression on the clean bass path. Super simple to dial in. But it's just one of those, what I actually really like about it is that for a bass playing guitarist, it causes you to think about the bass guitar a little bit more than you might think about it as being just like a guitar with 4 strings and down 1 octave. You look at the overall sound, and 9 times out of 10, I'm playing on both sounds blended together. The clean bass sound, that handles those really nice foundational low end. But then the dirty guitar amp part, that handles all the clarity and the finger noise and the articulation that you want out of it. And so you just end up with this very beautifully harmonic bass sound that just kind of finds its place in almost every situation that you need it to go into.
This is the problem, Sean. You inspire me. Now, see, I just spent all day getting my damn guitar rig set up. Now I got to get my bass rig back up and running. Thanks.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
To follow.
DJ is saying, I also hope to see Orange continue to experiment with different speakers like they did with the Tremlord, which is a good point, because that's one of the reasons why I've acquired so much Orange stuff over the years. When I bought my Rocker Verb, and Ben, I've told you this story before, I had a separate 4x12. Didn't feel like I needed to get a speaker cabinet for it, because I already had 2 412 speaker cabs. Who needs more? But slowly, after getting that amp home, realizing like, wow, the speaker cabinet makes just as much difference to my tone as getting a new amplifier that I love. End up getting a PPC 212 and getting rid of those 412 cabs. Just as much, like with the Tremlord, you guys going for like a Fender-ish old school kind of sound. You guys kind of went away from your little Celestion bubble that you guys have been in and went with something a little different.
Well, that was actually quite, there was a lot of development that went into that amplifier. We had, a lot of people were saying that Orange is kind of pigeonholed as this stoner rock, doom metal genre amplifier. And we were thinking, okay, well, we need to kind of expand our audience. In the 70s, we had like Fleetwood Mac, and we had a lot of blues players, but now I kind of feel that we've kind of lost a bit of that audience, and so we needed to have a product that was a bit more back to our roots. So Adrian designed the Tremlord, and when he designed it, I don't think he had a specific speaker in mind. I think he designed it to have like sparkly cleans and to kind of make it feel very analog and very smooth as an amplifier. And I remember he did try out a Celestion, and for whatever reason, the Celestion, it sounded good, but he's always trying out like new speakers from different companies all the time. And most times he'll go with the Celestion because it's what sounds best with the circuitry he has. On this one, because he designed it so differently, I guess, another company called Labocci, an Italian speaker, who sent a sample, he tried that one out, and I think this was like their first guitar speaker, and Adrian, either by fluke or for whatever reason, it just kind of like completed that combo. It just sounded beautiful. And Adrian was like, okay, that's the speaker to go with. He wasn't really thinking so much about what brands to go with or to go with any particular names. He was just like, for this Tremlord, I'm designing it in a different way to how my other recent Orange amplifiers are designed. It's got a different sound, it's a different audience. So he didn't need to follow any kind of rule book so much, I guess. And that Bocce speaker just sounds perfect. It's a perfect pairing for that amplifier.
Yeah, it really, for me, as a guy who has almost always been very staunchly against Fender amplifiers, it was really...
Yes, you and I have had a few conversations on that, Sean.
Yeah. It was very nice to see, obviously, a brand that I have such a connection with dip their toes into that sound and dip their toes into that world, but also it definitely had something that I could tell was characteristically Orange, but at the same time, not 100% what I've come to know of that sound. And I think, as you said, it's not really a thing about brands necessarily. It's just about what suits the circuitry, what suits the song, or what suits the product. And in many ways, it's exactly what suits the song as well. You're not going to be playing a guitar with EMGs on a country tune.
Yeah.
Or maybe you are. Maybe you are. I don't know.
I was going to say, yeah. You remember my dad was the exception to that. He had the EMG loaded telly for years. So.
Oh, really? Dang. Oh, it looks like he's busting something out.
Boom.
Oh, wow.
A telly with EMGs.
Wow.
A vintage telly with EMGs.
I didn't know that had EMGs in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because Dad was sick of hearing a 60 cycle hum through his clean amp at stage volume, playing bars. So he heard about this invention of noiseless pickups in the mid 80s. So they've been in the thing since, I think, 85, 86. They were installed.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty rad.
I digress. I'm already thinking. I already made notes. I have to try this Tremlord. I haven't tried this amp yet, and I have to try one.
That came out last year, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I think no, I think 2 years ago actually.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we released it for our 50th anniversary.
Yeah, for some I haven't seen one around. Well, then again, I'm in small town Ontario, so I may have to travel into the city to find one. But hey, there's a reason for a road trip. I'm down.
There's a reason for a road trip. Awesome. That'd be fun.
True that.
Oh, man. Yeah, I told this story with Alex on the show a couple weeks ago. How there were only two shops in the LA area carrying orange amps at the time that I bought my rock reverb, and now it just seems like it's exploded for you guys.
Yeah, the rock reverb is kind of it's our most popular UK amplifier, and I kind of think it's probably, out of all the UK amps we have, it's probably the most mature. Like it's in its third revision. I remember we used to have the rock reverb Mark 1 and Mark 2 and such, and the Mark 3, Adrian did more of a focus to improve the cleans on it, to make it more sparkly. He added an attenuator. A lot of people were saying, hey, I like the rock reverb, but it'd be good if I can actually, rather than just having to cut out some tubes, just be able to dynamically just change the volume without losing the gain. And I think at the same time, it's also kind of it's different to the rest of our amplifiers. That it's the most orange at the same time. Like if you look at a rock reverb, it's got more controls than any other orange amplifier we do. Yeah. And I think partly because that's the one where we've taken on the most amount of feedback, and so we've tried to keep everyone happy. So a rock reverb can do high gain metal perfectly, and it can do country and blues perfectly. It can do rock. It's such a versatile product that it's kind of a jack of all trades and wins at them at the same time. So yeah, we're just going to keep doing that one. Everyone loves it, and it's just kind of one of those amplifiers that you can easily find around the world. If you're touring, you're like, okay, I want a rock reverb. I know how it's going to sound, and now how I need to dial it in. There's no issues with it. So yeah, our most popular UK head.
I think that definitely got brought home to me because we ended up, in addition to, as I alluded to earlier, rehearsing in a place in Vernon, California, not too far from the Farmer John Slaughterhouse. The other place that we always rehearsed at was right in the thick of the San Fernando Valley. And within the span of maybe 2 weeks, about 5 years ago, the amps went from being JCM 2000 Marshalls to completely full complement of Rock Reverb 150 Mark IIs and PPC 412 cabs. And I was a happy boy that day.
No doubt.
I was a happy boy that day. And that definitely got me to the point where I was like, all right, I guess Orange Amps has arrived now. Yeah, I guess I'm no longer one of the only guys to know a good thing. I guess the good thing has gotten out there into the world.
Yeah. It's no longer a secret.
No longer a secret. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, DJ's got another comment. You might want to run that EMG comment by Dave Gilmore. That's true. I sometimes forget that he has a signature complement of Stratocaster EMG pickups.
Hey, you wanted lasers in your light show.
That's true. You want lasers in the light show, you're going to have...
The way sensors and lasers don't agree.
No, they don't. Oh, man. Oh, boy. What a day it's been. It's been so fun to have you guys on and talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's great. I love this.
This is great.
I think this is my first live stream I've ever done.
Woo!
Welcome.
Welcome to the live stream world, Charlie. It's good that you guys are able to kind of keep things going during all this, because obviously, like, the whole industry was just thrown into an absolute state of chaos once everything started shutting down. And I know privately we've talked about this, like, your foothold in China, not just from your manufacturing standpoint, but the popularity of the Orange brand in China is just staggeringly large.
Yeah, we're huge out over there. I remember years ago, like, we used to have all of our amplifiers for Asia, like when we did the Crush series, used to be in South Korea. And then when we outgrew that factory, we had to move to a larger factory. And so my dad's purchased a factory in China where we just exclusively make Orange products. So we make them in UK and China. And since then, just because the whole Crush series has been so successful, and in China everyone's loving the Crush series there as well, it's just been a huge market for us, and it's been growing and growing. And people love the kind of like the heritage, the story, just like being like a British brand out there. Some people still think Britain is cool, so I'm all right with that.
And can we just say the fact that you don't have black Tolex up on a stage? Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that was
a guy who can't stand black Tolex on anything. So.
That started in the 60s when my dad started a shop just called Orange that was a second-hand instrument shop, and he sold all his band's equipment, and then he started then he opened a studio downstairs, and he needed to start selling new gear, but none of the suppliers would supply him. Vox, I think Marshall, even Fender, all turned him down, saying, no, we kind of got our favorite shops, we don't need you doing it as well. So my dad then started doing his own amplifiers, got his friend Matt Mathias to help build them, and colored them orange just purely because that was the name of the shop. Everything my dad was doing at the time, like you might see some really old Orange PA speakers, some Orange studio monitors, they're all covered in Orange Tolex. It's kind of like the original boutique amplifier, So it's all about being different, standing out. Coloring the orange shop really helped originally because it just made it stand out on the street, even though all the businesses hated him for it, because they're like, well, all our shops are black and brown and your shop is orange. It's not fair. We thought you're not allowed to do that. Maybe he wasn't allowed to do that, I'm not sure, but did it anyway.
Nice.
Living in an area where there's a lot of emphasis from homeowners and business owners on everything being very like specific and like it must be this way. Like we had our roof redone maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. We had to get we had to have neighbors on all sides of us sign off on the roofing tile that we wanted. So it's like I could definitely understand, like back in the day, especially back then when things were slightly more conservative than they are now.
Yeah. The
idea of having a shop painted orange in an area where most everything is very homogenized and it's very one way. Having that definitely sticks out, and I could definitely see a few shop owners being less than thrilled with the idea of having a neighboring shop painted orange.
Well, so what we're saying is basically Charlie's dad kicked off the swinging 60s.
It's highly possible. It's highly possible.
You know what? I'm placing blame, and thank you for that. I appreciate it, because if not, the world would be a whole lot more boring.
Indeed it would. Indeed it would.
Some older pictures of my dad, and it's weird seeing my dad in kind of like, you meet my dad today, he's always wearing a suit, and back then he's kind of wearing, like, he had a perm, he had like proper like pointy pointy shirt. It's so 60s, 70s.
Nice.
When I see my dad like that, I just can't see him like that. I'm so used to seeing him.
Well, he was part of that counterculture, right? Like he was leading that brigade of counterculture revolutionary, and he helped make it a little louder, right? It's awesome.
I think he did. Like you meet Cliff today, and he's that picture perfect, or at least what you make up in your mind, and not being from the UK. This perfect English gentleman. Like he couldn't have been nicer. Meeting him at the NAMM show, doing an interview with him, and I think one of my favorite parts was just we did the interview at the 50th anniversary together, and then the next year I hadn't seen him in a full calendar year. And he comes up to me, he shakes my hand, he's like, "Hi Sean, how you doing?" It's just like, wow, he remembers me from last year. We spent maybe tops 20 minutes together. Couldn't be more gentlemanly, couldn't be more nice. But the idea of like, it's kind of weird at that point looking back at your parents like when they were cool.
Yeah, it's when I was like a kid, I never thought like I'll be doing like, I never really had much interest in Orange or like the brands. At the time, my dad owned loads of shops on Denmark Street, which is called Tin Pan Alley.
Okay.
And that were so all the family conversations around dinner was always about his shop, World of Pianos or World of Music, and kind of like struggling sales or kind of like conversations around that. And then I think it was when I was older. Then he was, and then my dad got the company back from Gibson because he licensed it out to them for a while. Then he started kind of like making big changes at the company. Hired Adrian was like one of the first things he did, and then we started talking more and more about Orange. And I remember years. At one point, he brought back a book which was called The Book of Orange, which it was kind of like done in a very kind of like it was just kind of like an early draft of the book. And we all saw it like, this can be a lot better. And so I then helped my dad to kind of redo the book from scratch. And through doing that, I learned about how cool the brand is and kind of the whole heritage. And suddenly, like all these, I was like, okay, we've been talking about like all these shops over dinner. Now I'm learning about what we could have been talking about. This kind of cool brand that my dad's just like, yeah, it's normal. It's what he does day to day. And yeah, it's just and through doing that, I'm just seeing all these old photos of my dad as like a kid when he's in the shop, and when he's like with all these different artists, like Stevie Wonder, and I just remember like thinking, oh, this is like really cool. It's kind of like a big deal, but when you're in it, you don't really think so much about it. I guess you just kind of think, oh, it's family. It's kind of what you talk about, you know.
And it's one of the it's. First off, it's awesome that you jumped on, Charlie, and I really do appreciate it. And if you have to go at any time, please feel free. But it's really interesting to have you on and talk about this kind of stuff, because we don't have a whole lot of that perspective anymore of a company established so many years ago and having this sort of generational passing on, or at least this generational involvement of the family that founded the company and currently runs it to this day, because companies change hands so many times. Very rarely do we see the same person that founded the company owning it 50 plus years later. So it's kind of interesting to have you on and talk about the idea of, yeah, when I was younger, it wasn't anything that I was really interested in. I didn't think I was going to be involved in it. And then all of a sudden it's like, I get this email from this guy named Charlie Cooper, and it's like, hey, let's meet at NAMM. And it's like, okay, we're going to meet at NAMM. And it's like, oh, this is Cliff's son. Wow, this is crazy. Oh, dear Lord.
I was just thinking that.
Lord. Everybody run and hide. It's Quentin James.
Hey, Pops.
Sorry, I just had to do that. But it is really cool to see, like, you obviously through helping your dad work on this book and see things evolve. It's like something that you didn't think you were going to be involved in, as Emily was talking about. What happened? All of a sudden, here you are.
Yeah, it's I guess Orange has always been like really, it feels like a very small company, and I guess kind of what I enjoyed after doing the book when I was working at the company is, I don't know, it's kind of like a very small company and yet having such a big reach. You feel like you have a lot of impact compared to kind of working at a huge company where things might get lost. And it's kind of nice knowing that kind of it's not, the direction is still going on what my dad wants the company to be. And so because of that, sure we have like small kind of like arguments, but we never really have big sweeping directional company arguments. It's always we know we know we don't want to cheapen the brand. We know what we do is what we love, and we just kind of want to. Everything I'm doing is just kind of making sure that people find out about the history of the company. They know our heritage. They know what my dad did back in the day, and they know the artists who used our gear. The worst thing that could ever happen to Orange, which if it ever did happen, it means I didn't do my job properly, and we haven't done our job properly. Is if you start finding Orange making kind of like subpar products, cheap products that aren't reliable, products that are literally just to make. It's very easy to make like cheap products that will make a lot of money, but then aren't up to scratch. So yeah, we're just kind of need to make sure, do my dad proud, make sure that keep the family brand going. Yeah, that's our focus. It's my focus.
All I can say is keep doing what you're doing, Charlie. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
I'm not seeing any cheap little toys come out from the company. Like, you guys will bring out an affordable product, but you guys don't bring out any cheap product. You don't pander to that flash in the pan, I'm going to play guitar for a month and a half crowd. You bring out good products, and you have, like I say, everything from the affordable entry level, get yourself a Micro Terror and a cab to start out with, and then you can just escalate up from there to whatever you want or need as a pro player. And it's all great stuff. And I just love the whole direction of the company. I love your marketing, your social media presence. Your NAMM exhibit is second to none. So, yeah, it's great.
We have a really good team at the company. I mean, with Alex, who helps out, does a lot of he heads up our artist relations, and he has a big input on the marketing that we do globally. We have an amazing sales team who's been with like a lot of the staff at the company have been at the company for like years. I mean, I think Alex has been at the company for about 10 years even. So it's kind of like everyone knows the direction we're going. Everyone's at Orange because they love and believe in what we do. So it's kind of I'm just kind of really fortunate. We've got a really good team here to work with. And I mean, like going forward, we're kind of like we're wanting to like work more with communities and asking them like what they want and what we can do to change and kind of respond to feedback. So actually I was talking to earlier about the Orange pedals. We showed some like vintage pedals out, and already I can say that like Adrian's finished the circuitry for the Orange phaser pedal, which is a vintage pedal. I'm not saying that we're going to release it. I'm just saying that he's done the circuitry. Like
that's enough. The fact you're looking into it, I'm happy.
I guess like we're just we're trying things out, and we'll see. Kind of we ask people on Facebook and Instagram, what they think, and we throw out ideas out there. We kind of look at forums and to see what people are talking about, and kind of design based on what we see musicians are asking for, but something that we can deliver on in a good way, as opposed to something that someone else has already delivered on, and we'll just be doing a Me Too product. So we try to avoid that.
Yeah, well, that's very true. I mean, Ben has already said it, and I'll echo the same sentiment. It's like whatever is coming out ends up being something. If it's not cheap, it's affordable. But you can rest assured that whatever it is, even if it is affordable, it's not going to be something that you're immediately going to want to either return to wherever you bought it from, or you're going to sell it and flip it, get your money back for it. It's going to be something that you want to hold on to.
Yeah.
And if you are getting rid of it, you're flipping up to something next level, maybe from that micro to or the mini, or the micro to the mini, or whatever.
Yeah. It's all about making sure that making products that last, kind of accessible at different price levels, and even if it's a product that's like the Terra stamp, even if anyone could just see a product like that and just go, hey, that's perfect, I'll get one of those. There's kind of you could be a worldwide touring musician, playing arenas, and you still find use for some of our even our cheaper products. They're just kind of for different people and different price points, but they're all unique in their own way.
I think that's probably one of the best things is like, I know no matter what that I have so many things from you guys that if I need to get the sound that I want, you can bet your ass that I'm going to be able to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that terror stamp too. Ooh. I was like, okay, there's the final piece for the fly-in date. You know, there's my orange sound right there in my hand, and I'm just like, damn it, guys! Like, you never disappoint. You know, it's just like every time it's like, yep, okay, sure, yep.
In case anybody's watching this right now and feels so inclined to want to know what that sounds like, the Terror Stamp video link has been shared in the chat of this whole live show thing. It is.
Nice.
What I can honestly say about the Terror Stamp is that I was truly blown away by how good it served as a clean pedal platform amplifier. It's not the kind of sound that I would normally think guys would go for, especially coming from an Orange product, but it takes pedals incredibly well to where it's like, if you need it to just be clean, it can just be clean. And you'll be perfectly happy with it.
I believe the technical term is ridiculous, how well it takes pedals. I believe.
I like that. I like that.
Well,
maybe
it takes them offensively well.
Yes, yes, that's it right there. Offensively well, yes.
Offensively well. All the obscenities that you could possibly think of, it takes it offensively well.
Yep.
It's 2:40 in the morning here, so I should get to sleep. So it's been an absolute pleasure, gents. Thanks so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any other questions before I go?
It was great meeting you, Charlie.
Great meeting you too, Ben.
Yeah.
The only question I have for you, Charlie, is how much more fun do you think we can get up to this year?
Have a look at what we might be releasing towards the end of the year, depending on how much the virus changes our development times. That's what I'll say.
All right. Well, obviously this isn't the only place we talk, but we will be definitely getting in touch. I know we were talking about those headphones. Still got my eye on those. But that's another thing already. Charlie, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. It was great to have you. And get some sleep.
Will do. Pleasure, guys. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Charlie. Have a good night. So, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Cooper showed up.
Charlie Cooper, folks. What a great guy, eh?
Charlie, honestly, I wax poetic about Orange amps all the time. And I think the thing that really 100% like solidified everything for me was just as the relationship between myself and the company got deeper and deeper, we just started this kinship, and it just became so easy to involve myself with the company.
Yeah, and I have a lot of faith, you know, assuming everything keeps on and nothing crazy happens. But, you know, if and when Charlie takes over the reins completely, I am not seeing that silver spoon trust fund spoiled next gen. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes with companies.
Yep.
Nope. You know, the day he takes over, I'm like, yeah, that company's fine for another 30 years. Like,
yeah, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you remember me saying this, Ben, but I'll bring it up for those who probably missed that live show when I had Alex, who is the artist relations manager for Orange Amplifiers, on. I told him that basically the day that he leaves Orange Amplifiers, I'll know that something's wrong. And
exactly.
I don't think that there's going to be a time where Alex won't. Alex is as much a part of Orange Amplifiers as anybody. And he doesn't even have a hand in designing stuff. It's just all about he creates this community of users and this community of artists that utilize the equipment that just, to me, fully exemplifies how good Orange Amplifiers really are.
Yeah. It's funny, Gil, because it's a company that traditionally I can't really get my sound through an Orange, because I use the amps as pedal platforms, whatever it is. But my God, I'm a fan of that company. It's like I wish I could work with Orange. That seriously. But then when we start talking, I'm like, what is this Tremlord? How did that? I missed the boat on the Tremlord, and all of a sudden no, it's clean amp, not necessarily traditionally voiced. And I'm like, do tell, and sparks my interest. And then when we're talking, the Terrorist amp and the fact that these amps do take pedals well and got to be one of the most consistent major brands out there, them and Fender. Like if I was going to require a backline amp and I'm flying into that gig, it's going to be that either the Blues Deluxe or the Rocker Verb, or, it's going to be one or the other because they're two very consistent things. It's great.
I've done so much with these guys over the course of the last few years. Obviously, the Rocker Verb has been an absolute staple on the channel since it really got started. But I think the best days of the company are not behind. They are definitely ahead. And obviously, you guys will be seeing that on the channel. You will be seeing much more of that. Charlie and I did not allude to anything that we talk about in private that we weren't comfortable alluding to, but I said it once and I'll say it again. If chances are, if you've been thinking Orange could do something and thinking that they would be the best people to do it, chances are they might be thinking about it and might be working on it. So,
that's right. And this stuff doesn't get developed overnight either.
Oh, absolutely not. It takes time. And I
did regret. I forgot to thank him for not releasing a digital modeling app. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember interviewing Cliff a couple years ago, and he said, we've thought about it, and it's just not at the point where we think it sounds right. So if it doesn't sound right, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, and especially, why would you build a digital modeling app to try to replicate old school analog sound? It's like, it doesn't work. Like, the best people to do that digital stuff is like Boss. Why? They're a digital company. That's their thing. If I want digital modeling, I'm not going to Fender. I'm not going to Marshall. I go to them for Tubi, saturated goodness. I don't go for that digital stuff. So it's great to see. Yeah. And having Emily come on as well. She's a treasure.
If you guys haven't taken any time to watch or listen to the Get Offset podcast and YouTube channel, do yourself a favor and go check her out. I love Emily. I think she's definitely an up-and-comer, obviously. Wait a second. Guys, I'm excited about this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Dakota.
What's up, guys? Hey.
How you doing, buddy? Ben,
I'm good.
Meet Dakota Rasick.
Hey, Ben. How's it going?
Pleasure.
Vintage guitar nerd extraordinaire and guitar tech to the stars, as it were.
Nice.
I guess so. That's what we want to say.
How you doing, buddy? You still at Sonic Ranch?
I am. Yeah, we just finished up all the guitar stuff today, and I think we still have like one or two more takes for Eric for some bass tracks. But yeah.
Very, very nice. Where are you sitting, in the control room or the live room somewhere? Because I can definitely sense the.
I'm in the live room, so the control room is above me, as you can see.
Nice. Very
and
cool.
They're recording vocals right now, and then this is the.
Oh wow!
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is one of the studios here. This place is fucking unbelievable.
It's a place where dreams are made.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then some of the merch they've got. There's a cat sleeping.
Oh, I love that.
Love it.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So I just thought I saw this was going on, so I wanted to pop on and say what's up. They're cutting vocals right now, so I don't have anything to do with the moment other than
I don't have anything to do, so I'm jumping on. How much longer are you going to be staying down there?
Well, Eric's getting married down here.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, there's going to be like a wedding and shit at the end of the album. It's going to be crazy.
Damn.
So I'm planning on staying until, I don't know, probably like second week of July.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, we're planning on doing a little project. I don't want to talk about it fully, but it's something a really cool thing that hasn't been done yet with at this studio. So we're
Cool.
Yeah, we'll see. I just started an email chain about it, and it looks like it's going to happen. So I'll fill you in on it off camera, but it'll be cool.
Awesome. Yeah, for those of you who are curious, Dakota deals with a lot of very interesting clientele in his line of work as both a guitar tech and a vintage guitar dealer. Some of those things we can't talk about on camera. Yeah,
there's certain people like to be left in the dark, so to speak, and that's just part of the gig. There's some guys that are like, you go in and it's just a secret thing, and like, no one knows who's recording when or what. This record is a band called Spray Allen, which is Eric Wilson from Sublime's new project, and a bunch of cool people are coming in and like guesting on the album, and like it's pretty awesome.
Nice.
So, but yeah, that's what this is, and then yeah, once this session's over, I'm gonna get back to working on all the guitars here, and yeah, just I'm gonna be filming some content. I just found a crazy rare guitar last night that nobody knows about. I'll tell you about that if you want.
Ooh, is that something you can share on the stream, or is that something we're talking about in private?
Yeah, totally. No, I own the guitar now, so no one can get it.
All right.
I already have it. I'm pretty sure I already have it sold.
All right. What'd you find?
So yesterday on Reverb, somebody posted a 1969 Gibson ES 330, which looked normal, except one thing. I'll show you. I have a screenshot of it on my phone. Is there anything weird about this guitar to you?
Well, I see two chrome P90s and no F holes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a non-F hole 330. They're insanely rare. So somebody threw that on Reverb and just goes, all original 330, like looks good. Like, here you go. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's no fucking F holes. I was like, holy shit. So I like immediately I click on it and I'm just like, what hell? Like, where did this come from? So I messaged a guy on Instagram that I knew who had one. And I was like, yo, if you don't mind me asking, like, I know that you've got one and there was one at like some high-end shop and the prices were like pretty up there. And this guitar was being sold as kind of a normal 330. So I was like, click. So I'm having it shipped here. I'm going to do an unboxing video and then, do a demo of it. And I'm pretty sure the first guy I contacted who was like, dude, I have to have the matching set. He's like, I want another one. So I said, sure. So I'll give him a really good deal on it. And then I like making that connection. I like having that as a set. I think that's a good post for Instagram and YouTube. So
yeah,
that's the next thing on the agenda other than doing all this shit. That was just last night we were cutting vocals and I'm just like on Reverb because I don't have anything to do with the vocals for the album.
Yeah.
And I just go, what the hell? I was like, all right, cool. Like that worked.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that one of the things that I love about knowing Dakota is he tends to find things that I never knew existed. And chances are sometimes even if he knows that it exists, he's still like, I'm not 100% certain that this is really real, but I'm going to find out if it's real.
Well, it's just funny because like it just shows you that somebody had enough sense to know it was a 330, but not to like take a step back and really look at it and be like, there's no F holes. Like,
right.
Why is this? Like, which blows my mind, but you know what? I don't care. I'm happy. I'm okay with that.
Did you get
this? Yeah. Well, check this out. This is kind of cool. This is a company called Marion Henry Electric, which years ago, I think I was still in high school. I let Gear Man Dude borrowed this pedal.
Oh, nice.
And it's called a Fuzz Bucket, and it's basically a copy of a Way Huge Red Llama.
Okay.
And this company doesn't exist anymore. But the guy from one of the guys from Humphreys McGee has one. So when I got this pedal, I was like, I play it. It's awesome. But I was like, somebody's going to hit me up in the future and be like, that's the Humphreys McGee pedal. I want it. And some guy commented on YouTube and was like, hey, I saw that you have that pedal. I've been looking for one. If you ever want to sell it, let me know. And this was like a no-name company at the time. They literally made maybe 20, 30 pedals ever. And I was just like, I have a good feeling about this. So this is since high school I've been doing this shit.
Nice. Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen some of the videos that Dakota and I have been doing, we got a couple more coming out. Last week we uploaded a whole little 2-knob chord shootout. We had some legit made in Japan boxy too, a Keeley mod one, my Way Huge Blue Hippo. Actually, this weekend I'm gonna put up, Dakota, the
one of them.
Yeah,
one of those.
Just like one of those.
Which I've had since high school, because I too have been flipping gear since high school.
Nice. This one we're going. Oh, there it is. Ben. He's got the box. The tone is in the box.
Let's see here.
Yeah, but this is the one though. This is the one that everybody freaks out about.
Oh yeah, that's the one that you just put all the knobs straight up, and you're just like, I'm good. I don't need anything else.
Ben, do you notice anything interesting about this black label?
It seems to be a lot less writing.
It doesn't say Roland. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it only says made in Japan. It's a silver screw. And gotta unscrew this so I can open it up and show you. 0, 0, 0, 0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, and I too still have my box.
Oh, nice.
Originally, it was marked down from 160 to 130 Canadian when it was new.
Wait a second. That's so funny because I have. Is it this one? I got one from Canada as well that had the box, weirdly enough.
Nice.
This one has the instruction manual and the box. I've got a few of them, but yeah, this is the Quad Zero with the no Roland is like the rarest one that I know.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well,
and I have a box. I have a box for it if I wanted to like do that. Like, I can switch the original box to this because it's period correct. But like, I just think it's fucking cool by itself. I'm not trying to make a fake set. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. My favorite thing is obviously the piece that Dakota and I introduced each other to over, and that was the Session Man. But my favorite part of the Session Man is the fact that it had the original Maxon battery still in the pedal when he sold it to me.
Yeah, that's the second. We talked about that in a video we did. That's the second pink NOS pedal that I found. So that one had the Maxon battery. I found a Univox. Was it a Univox hyper phaser or no? It's the one with it's got a phaser is like spelled wrong, and it's got like a foot on it. Whatever that little phaser is, micro phaser. That's it. Okay. I have that one with the original battery, and I had a Boss Digital Dimension in the box NOS with the battery, and that one. I think I got $250 for that, and that was when Reverb was new, and people were like, "You're crazy! You can't like those sell for $120, like whatever." And I'm like, "Well, find me one that's been sitting at the shelf in South Carolina for 25 years." I was like, "There's $100 premium on it." I'm sorry, it's the coolest thing, one of the coolest pedals I have. So that being said,
vintage and used gear is a really interesting market, just because obviously people place a certain depreciation and value on certain pieces of equipment depending on how old they are and the condition that they're in, but then other pieces they place an appreciation on it based on the age and the condition of it.
It's all relative. I mean, think about it. Like, there's certain things where if it can be used in like a way that's like very unique, then usually the price goes up. Like, for example, like old microphones, you know, like there's microphones that there's so much money, it would make your head spin. And it's like, and you have to have a studio that could like actually use this stuff and a board that would make it sound good. So once you get into that level, it's like when you're getting your oil changed on like a Ferrari, you're not getting a $30 oil change. Like, you have to go to this next level or it doesn't work. So certain pieces, and if you look at the vintage world, you can tell where it lines up. You know, like once you start getting into your Blackguard territory and those kind of guitars, knobs and switch tips are a lot of money. And some people go, that's crazy that you can't get that. And it's like, you're talking about a $35,000 guitar. The knob is worth $1,000 to the right guy. So you can, and like other people will sell them cheaper, but if you know there's a guy out there that needs a 52 tele knob, good luck finding another one. You know, my 49 lap steel, which is up there, it has the original pickup, which is I don't want to take it out and do the replacement. I think it's cool to have the fucking real thing, but the knobs on it are the closest like repros that you can get. My buddy made them, Mark Rutters. He's the fucking man. Anybody needs hardware, and his guitars are awesome. Rutters, Mark Rutters. You should definitely look him up. Rutters makes broadcaster knobs and switch tips and all that kind of stuff. So he made me a set, and then we relicked them a little bit. So I showed it to a couple people, and they were like, "Man, this thing's all original. This is perfect." And I'm like, "The knobs are actually repros." And they're like, "God damn, those are really good repros." So that being said, it just gets into that territory. So when you're talking about really rare amps, well, guess what? You might have to spend $500 a tube on some of these, you know, these weird old Marshalls that need special, like if you want to get NOS, like USA tubes that are period correct for that, shit's expensive.
Right.
So I tell people all the time, buy in your realm, like be relative to what you're buying, because if you don't know, if you just have a bunch of money, you can buy whatever you want. But if you don't know how to use it and you don't know what you're doing with it, it's not going to have the full potential. So like either learn about it or get ready to invest in what you need to really make that work. That's the best way to go about it. You know, it's like when people win the lottery and they spend all their money, they buy a crazy house and a boat and like 3 cars, and then they realize there's insurance on those cars, and like, you know, like, see, I got a good idea. The lights went on. That worked.
That was good. I liked the timing.
Yeah.
You know, actually, something that, since you do deal in a lot of it, Ben Tom is actually asking a question that I don't think I necessarily see a lot of people come up with. How many fake 50s Fender parts do you think you'll find? I wouldn't even say just on Reverb, but just how many fake parts do you think you run across in your casual dealings? I'm going to let you answer that, and I'm going to go run and grab something real quick.
Okay. That's a good question. I'd have to look and see what people are saying, because I think people get dates wrong all the time, and people can definitely make fakes and make them look right. But it's hard to say. I take every single thing on a case-by-case basis, because, you know, it like I did an interview a couple days ago or last week, whatever, with Seymour Duncan, and I said, or Kevin from Seymour Duncan, and I said one thing on there which I wanted to take back a little bit, and this kind of goes into that. I was about to say like half the shit out there it could be fake. I kind of said something like that in the last interview, where I was like, oh, half the time when someone calls me to look at something, they you know, that half the time something's wrong or something isn't straight. Again, it's case by case. I mean, if you have, it works like this. If you have more people selling right now on the internet than ever before, which is the case, Reverb has absolutely opened a new door, and Instagram is another avenue for it. So you have more people pushing more stuff out onto the market. So technically, that's going to push out more bootleg stuff. So there will be an increase, but I think it's case by case about what's out there. I've seen fakes for parts, and I've seen people just explain something as like, they'll put it as like a decade instead of the actual part, and then they'll just agree to whatever number they're like. Is it a 61? It's like, well, it's between 60 and 63, but I'm pretty sure it's a 61. I'm sure if somebody else emailed them, they'd say the same thing and go, but I'm pretty sure it's a 62. So you just gotta work with someone you can trust, really, because people get it wrong once in a while, but you can tell if someone's bullshitting you or not, or at least I can.
There's a lot of there's a lot of I had the phrase in my head like 10 seconds ago and it's gone, but there's a lot of like, I think it's this, I think it's that. There's not too many people that I know that actually can say with confidence, it is this, it is that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, sometimes and sometimes you can be sure, and other times it's like, I'm pretty sure it's this, but there's a little bit of leeway. And at that point, I always try to adjust the price on that side. But a funny note about that, there's a pawn shop that I used to buy guitars from in Oceanside, California. And they got in 2 fake Gibsons. Now, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm like one of those guys that you see on Pawn Stars or one of those shows where they call in an expert and blah, blah, blah. Like, I've done that for stores and shops before, as well as doing that at a shop I worked at. Mm-hmm. So I've been called into like everywhere. From my one buddy worked at Sam Ash, and he like, remember, I didn't live too far, and he was like, hey, someone's here with a Les Paul. I think it's fake. If you're in the area, like, hang out or whatever. So I came by and it was. But regardless, there was this pawn shop, and they had 2 fake Les Pauls. One was a custom, and one was supposed to be some Harley Davidson edition custom, and they were beyond fake. Like fake EMGs, like fake Grovers, fake everything. I know, it's crazy. So I go in there and I'm looking at other stuff, and I said, hey, just so you guys know, this is not real. Like, this is why. And they were like, oh, okay, because they were selling them as real ones. So I came back in maybe a week or 2 later, seeing if they got any more guitars. And this salesman comes up to me, and he starts going like, hey, you play guitar? Like, yeah, giving me the line. And I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, well, check this out. And he pulls down the fake Les Paul Custom, the white one. And he says, it's marked at only $800, but we're not sure if it's a fake or not. So you might go home and do some research, and it could be a real one. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, wow, really? Like, it could be real, huh? And he's like, yeah. And I go, can you do me a favor? I go, give me 1 second. And I run out to my car, and Sean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have a tech box that opens up, and then it has a guitar neck stand. It's what I use on tour to work on guitars. And I said, can I show you something? And I take the back plate off, and I show him the guitar, and I literally went through 15 things that were wrong with it. To be like, bindings wrong, serial numbers wrong, pickups are wrong, pots are wrong, wires are wrong, the inlays are wrong, the fretboard wood is wrong, the truss rod cover's wrong. And I just was like, boom, 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 boom. And the guy was like, oh, wow. And I was like, dude, I'm the guy who told you they're fucking fake. And I was like, and you're going to look me in the eye and tell me that I'm going to go do my research and that it might be real? I was like, get out of here.
Oh, my God.
And he was so embarrassed. And then from that day on, we were best buds, because I'd go in there and he'd pull shit out of the back and be like, what do you think of this one? Like, you want to buy it? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, maybe I'll check this one out. But I don't play that shit. And I love it when people try to pull that stuff, or when I talk to someone who thinks they know what they're talking about, I just let them go. I go, tell me all about it. Yeah. What else is wrong with it? Yeah, totally. And I let them paint themselves into a corner, and then I like slowly move into that mode. And if they don't catch my drift, I just hit them with the laundry list, and then they just look like a complete dumbass.
Oh, yeah. That's one of I will say to everybody watching right now, that's one of the interesting things about knowing Dakota, is that when it comes to the knowledge that he has, he's very upfront about the things that he knows. But he's if you're willing to make a fool of yourself, he'll let you make the fool of yourself. So you can't screw him. I know we've talked about a lot of things not on camera. We've talked about things on camera, about some of the things that you've run across in your day as both a vintage dealer and a tech. And I don't think we've ever talked on camera about the story of the Mike Lowell bass that ended up belonging to the bass player from Metalocalypse.
Yeah, I can tell you about that in 1 second. What's up? Yeah, but is that bad? Oh, here I can. I'll go into in the other room. Yeah. Yeah. We can turn them off. Yeah, we can turn them off. I'll go in there. I'll go into one of the ISO rooms. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah. No worries.
We're doing vocals. We're doing vocals in the other room. So I think the Wi-Fi should still get. They just want all the lights off, so it's like super dim in there. So I'm in an ISO booth right now.
Sweet. This will be fun.
Okay. So yeah, we can. I can briefly go into that like a little bit. So
yeah.
Basically, what happened was this. So when you buy stuff off Craigslist or Letgo or OfferUp or any of those kind of services, I'm getting a glare. You potentially run into, buying something that could not be straight, or could be stolen. So I saw this Mike Lowell bass, and I didn't know that much about them, to be honest with you, at the time. But I found this bass, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is probably worth this much. And like I did a little research, just seeing there was none really used at the time. So I was like, it's probably priced around here. So I'm talking to this person, and it seems legit, and they have this bass, and we go to meet up, and I'm getting a bad vibe. Like as soon as I show up, I'm like, this deal's already happening, but like I don't know. So from that day on, I learned one thing: always talk to the person on the phone before you meet up with them. I do that across the board now. At this point, I didn't. We were just texting and using like email, Mm-hmm. So I get the bass, and like I said, like I could tell just the person was just something was up, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus necessarily, but like something was off. And I was like, something's weird. So I call Mike Lowell to get a replacement part and to check the bass out, because I fill out paperwork when I buy and sell stuff and all that. And they were just like, what color is the bass? And they're like, it's black. And they're like, we only made 2 of them in black, and one of our artists had one stolen. So I said, okay. I was like, well, I have all the information. We can go from there. Turns out it was Brian Beller's. And Brian Beller plays for Vi and the Aristocrats with Guthrie Govan. And he's also Murderface, the bass player for Death Clock. So this happened to be Brian Beller's missing black Mike Lowell Thunderbird style bass. So Mike Lowell got me in touch with Brian, who at first was, of course, like a little upset, like, oh my God, like, where'd you get it, whatever. And then I told him, and I said, here's the rundown. It's like, I used to work at a pawn shop, and I take all this stuff and I go through and make sure things are legit. And he literally was like, out of everyone that could have bought the bass, like, I am so glad it came to you. Now, ironically, Eric Wilson from Sublime played the bass as soon as I got it. I went to his house and we're hanging out, and he was playing it and loved it. And he was about to play it with Sublime. And then I told him, I said, hey, I just got word from Mike Lowell. This was from, Brian Beller. And I explained it. And he's like, fuck. He's like, I love Murderface. Like, I love Death Clock. So ironically, after that, I contacted, I gave the bass back to Brian. He reimbursed me for what I paid and was super happy, and we're buddies now. Eric was like, man, I really want one of those Thunderbird basses. Let's see if they'll make one. So I helped design a 5-string version with Eric Wilson that he plays to this day live. So it's a really crazy turn of events, but like, I figured out the best way out of that situation was not only get the bass back to Brian, and then Eric got one out of the deal too. Now, I don't think they ever found any of the other basses that were stolen, but that one at least got back to Brian, and that directly came from me. So I gave him the bass back, and then we went out for sushi.
Nice.
It was good.
Awesome. That's one of those things.
So that's a day in the life.
Yeah, day in the life, for real. That's just one of those things that it's the horror story of the secondary gear market, whether like, boutique or vintage instruments. You never want to be the person that buys the stolen piece of equipment.
So you're breaking up a little bit. Let me see if I can move a little bit.
Okay. So I was just saying that you don't want to be the guy that ends up being the guy that buys the stolen instrument. You don't want to be the guy that ends up you don't always want to be the guy that finds the missing piece, because you're never 100% sure how the person who the equipment was taken from is going to react. Obviously, it worked out.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that was the best case scenario on that one. But yeah, there's definitely been some times where, like working at a pawn shop, we would get stolen things occasionally. Now, if we thought something was stolen, we would tell somebody to get out, and like we've actually like confiscated. Like, let me put it this way: somebody comes in with a laptop, and they don't know the password and they don't know the name on it. But there was a way that we could like kind of get their name. We'd look them up on Google real quick, like Facebook or something. And we would call somebody and be like, hey, are you Mary Smith? Like, do you know that like John Doe is here with a laptop? And they'd be like, who? They were like, oh my God, like that's mine. Like my house was broken into, whatever. And we'd like look at the guy and be like, so Mary's on the phone and says that you don't, nothing about this laptop is yours. And he goes like, what? I got to go getting something in the car, just like runs out and leaves the laptop. So we've like given shit back to people. So like that's what I try to do. But yeah, there's times where people would absolutely freak out. And it's like, dude, I understand, but like, I'm not the one who stole your bass or your guitar. You know, like we're contacting you that it's here. And like, they'd come in and like fuming and like mad and grab it and run away. And then other people would be like, thank you for being cool and like trying to get me my stuff back. You never know what you're going to get. So I just stay as neutral as possible. And with that bass, I knew that's kind of what it came to. So got it back to Brian, and yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I'm just happy he got he got all his stuff stolen. Some of the pedals and an amp showed up at like a Sam Ash in like somewhere else. The bass that I found, I forget where it was, but it was in like a different city and something else. So like all the gear got divvied up and split out, like apparently. So shit happens and it sucks. And it's not the first time I found stolen gear for people. I found Eric Wilson had a bass that I found that was stolen. Crazy enough, some guy messaged me on Facebook and says, "Hey, I see you work with Rome and Dirty Heads and blah blah blah." And it's like, would you like it? I have this bass and I think it belonged to Eric. And I was like, well, where did you get it? And he's like, well, I bought it off some guy. And he said that Eric gave it to him years ago. So I contacted Eric and he's like, I didn't give that. I let somebody borrow it. Sounds like they didn't give it back and sold it. So I bought the bass. I laid the money out and I just shipped it to Eric's house. And then, and then he called me one day and he was like, hey, he's like, a package just showed up. And I was like, dude, that's your green Modulus. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I found it in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And he's like, how the fuck did you find that? And I was like, some guy messaged me and like, I was not that far away, like weirdly enough. So I drove like an hour and a half, met up with him. It was raining, I remember. And it was a green Sparkle Modulus with a graphite neck. And there was a spot on the front where it looked like someone had sanded something away. And when I opened the guitar up, it said painted for Eric by Bud, which Bud is the original drummer for Sublime.
Okay.
So when I sent him the bass, I said, yeah, there was a spot on the front. And he goes, yeah, he goes, Bud painted my name on it. And he's like, I didn't want my name on the front of my bass, so I just sanded it off. And I was like, well, that's the bass. That's the one.
It had to happen in Pennsylvania too.
Again, how weird is that? Allentown, Pennsylvania, like that's, I don't know, like an hour and a half from where I grew up. And I happened to be visiting Pennsylvania at the time when I got the Facebook message. So
sounds like somebody did a gig in Allentown and got stiffed and sold a bass to get gas money to the next gig.
Sounds like it. Something weird, you know, like who knows? But yeah, totally.
Damn.
Crazy.
It's always really funny because I feel like you're not the first person to tell me strange line of work stories that happen in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is a weird place. Anywhere outside of Philadelphia is Pennsylvania. Everything in between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and even parts of Pittsburgh. I mean, look, where I grew up outside of Philly, and I would, my part of my family was like Northeast Philly, and I used to work in South Philly, so like I was familiar with the city enough, but I grew up about 45 minutes outside of the city. So even out there, people have interesting views about how things go on in the world. So farmland and that kind of thinking. I'll put it that way.
Yep. And we won't get into any of that kind of thinking on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Well,
I live in California and I'm in Texas right now, so like I'm right in the middle. I don't care one way or the other. I wear a mask when I go outside, and I'm making sure I'm trying not to get sick. Other than that, I don't give a shit. Doesn't matter. I work on guitars. People have opinions, and they can have opinions. I could care less.
Yep. Oh damn. Oh, I love this. This is
a little more light.
No worries, man. This has been a lot of fun having all you guys jump on. It's great that I put this invitation out and people are actually showing up. I feel great about this.
Yeah, this is cool. This is fun.
So, any other interesting acquisitions recently? I know you recently. Well, the last guitar I borrowed from you traded for an R9 Les Paul, which was fantastic.
And
you mentioned a Blackguard recently that you came
53. across. Yeah, I found a 1953 Blackguard Telecaster on my way out here.
You still have that with you?
Yeah,
nice.
It's absurd. I just restrung it with some. I had Ernie Ball 10s on it because Ernie Ball sponsors Eric and Sublime and all the other bands that I know practically. So they sent out a bunch of stuff, and then I was just restringing it, and I had an extra set of Diodarios that were just like in my tech box, so I didn't feel like going into the other room. So I tried my personal guitar, and I usually use Ernie Balls, but I wanted to try Diodarios on this just for fun. But yeah, it's a 53 Telecaster. It's a real one. Refin body and neck, refret. One tuner's been changed. Original bridge. New saddles that are intonated, which is fine. New pick guard. Original pickups, but they were resoldered. And I want to say the wiring harness, the switch tip, the knobs, and the control plate are original. But like I said, with this guitar, I could care less. Like, I'm actually playing it and enjoying it. Like, and I'm not, that does not to put down all original examples because they're fine, but this isn't that. So like, this guitar is going to go up for sale and it's expensive as shit. But when people see it, they go, oh man, but the pickguard's not original and this. And I go, I know. I'm like, this guitar was refinished before I was born. Like, there's a lot of things that have changed over time. I don't have a time machine to take it back. I can tell you that it's awesome and I'm playing it every day and it's a real Blackguard. Like, as long as the neck, the body, and the pickups are there, and like the body wasn't routed or something stupid like that, it's fine. I don't care. Like, I'd rather buy a player's grade refin for $10,000 less and actually play it, because by the time I'd ever want to sell it, if I got a good deal on it, the price would have appreciated to a point where you're still making some money on it. And you're not laying out $30,000 for something that if you put the first chip in the paint, you just knocked off $2,500 or something stupid. And it's a matter of like where you want to be. If I had $1 million in the bank and I had I could play and go, ooh, I'm going to buy this and investment and whatever. But I'd rather see pieces that are more obtainable to the average person. Like, the average guy is not buying a Blackguard, but somebody who's in the market for one is probably looking like, well, you know what? I don't mind if it's a refin. Let's see what's out there. And I already have, as soon as I posted it, I had 2 or 3 guys immediately hit me up and like, hey, what are you asking? I'm interested. I've got a guy that wants one, whatever. So like, there's money to be made and it's just about profit margins. So like, with a guitar like that, it's not a bad thing to hold on to for a little bit. You get so much exposure from having such a relic special piece. So I'm gonna list that guitar for a lot of money, and like, we'll see where it goes. It could sell overnight. It could sell in 6 months. I could find a buyer or whatever. But it's the same thing like we did, Sean, with the Flying V. Yeah. So that Flying V, I was getting 1,000 views a month on Reverb just from people clicking on it going like, I've never seen that. I want to know more about it. These aren't people that were interested in buying the guitar. There's only a handful of people who are even in the market to buy it, let alone could afford it. It was a $5,500 Flying V. But people are just interested in seeing it. So that 330, for example, from before with the non-F holes, that 330 is a great example of, I didn't know that guitar existed. So I'm going to watch a YouTube video of somebody playing that guitar and explaining it. I have no interest in, I'm talking pre me being a vintage guy. I couldn't afford that. I didn't know anything about it, but I'd want to see something about it. And that's how I think the vintage guitar works online, especially with blackguards and clones and stuff like that. They're so rare that people just want to just watch a video. They don't, like I want to, it's the same thing as, I always compare cars because the markets are very similar and there's guys that are car guys and guitar guys. I'll watch Top Gear and watch them zipping around in a McLaren at like 160 miles an hour. I'm not in the market to buy a McLaren, but I'll watch that. Yeah. So in the guitar market, I think there's part of that too. I'm never going to be, I really don't see myself owning a Burst unless I hit the lottery. But I'll watch a documentary about 10 guys going like, man, I've had 60 of these and see the top on this one. It's like, I found this one here. It's the same shit I do on a different level.
Right.
So the Blackguard, that's one of the rarest and one of the nicest pieces I've ever had. And I'm enjoying owning it for the time being. I mean, you saw that picture. I drove out to the middle of fucking nowhere in New Mexico, and sat over a sunset with a Roland Microcube and just played it and just looked over the mountains. It doesn't get better than that.
And not only that, you did a live stream last week with Seymour Duncan on their Instagram, and you were just using like your camera microphone plug. What amp were you plugged into? Was it a Champ?
Kemper. No, it was a Kemper.
Oh, it was your Kemper. So yeah, that Blackguard into the Kemper.
Yeah.
It sounded exactly like you would want it to sound.
Yeah, I was happy with it. And being here, if I record, I might want to try to record a couple things before I go back to California. They have a Tweed Deluxe, and like you turn that Tweed Deluxe up and then start rolling your volume knob with a Blackguard. That's every country's song you've ever heard. Or, they've got a couple deluxe reverbs and, they've got it to Harvard. I plug that in and do Steve Cropper. There's a lot of cool tones to be had. And that guitar, especially a real 50s Fender with the original pickups, they have a magic to them. There's no other way around it. Anyone that wants to say, oh, custom shop's just as good or this and that, they haven't played one. I can tell you right now, have them call me and tell me what a real Tadeo Gomez Teleneck feels like. And if they go, I'm like, you've never played one, so you should not talk about.
Yeah. So to kind of piggyback off what Dakota just said, we didn't make a video of this together, but at some point before 2020, Dakota came into possession of a rather stellar example of 1950s Stratocaster goodness. And he was like, I gotta come by and let you play this thing. Just play it. He brought that thing over. At that point, the bridge pickup did not work.
Yeah. So what happened was there was a short. I think Lindy Fralin rewound it, but it was a 54 Strat, and I happened to be near Sean's, and I said, "Hey, I got this guitar. I think you should play it. So let me swing by and see what's up." And I opened the case, and it was the original case. Yeah. And I remember your face. You were just like, "What am I looking at?" And I was like, "A 54." Which is a whole nother ball game. Which I've played a couple 50. I've played two pre-October 54s and a couple post ones, which basically means the pre-October ones are when they were still kind of working the kinks out. The headstock's a little different. The body contours are a little different. there's less than 100 of those in existence, and they're really, really sought after. And a producer buddy of mine bought a 54 that it came down to the one that Sean that you saw, and then another one that was flown in. So I go to this guy's house, and we're looking at both of them and A and B in them and seeing which one he liked. And I'll be honest with you, the other one was better. Not just because the pickup didn't work at that exact moment, but something about it. It had a magic to it that I can't explain. Yeah. So my buddy ended up buying that one. I returned the Strat to the owner, who let me borrow it for the day to show it and whatever. So that being said, the other 54, it was the best 54 Strat on the planet, and this is why. All original finish wise, except it had a refret with bigger wire, so you could actually play it and enjoy it. The bridge pickup was wired to the tone pot for the middle pickup. So instead, what they did was the middle pickup became the no tone load, and it was a 5-way switch, so you could do the in-between positions. So if you think about that, now you have a tone pot on the bridge pickup. The middle pickup doesn't have a tone pot, so it's extra sparkly, which is the way to do it if you're going to do that anyway. And 3, you can get that in-between position. This Strat is it's on another level. Like, I've never played one like it. We brought it, me and my guy. We went to another. I'm not going to say his name, but he's a huge vintage dealer. Like had a million bursts and Carinas and everything under the sun. And he literally, I didn't say a word. I let him just look at the guitar, and I know when to shut up. And like, one thing about being in the studio, basically, like, and I'm not saying like speak when spoken to, but like the engineers and who's producing this record, Paul Leary's producing this record. I watch everything he does, and like, I'm a huge fan, and like how he runs the ship, and like the tones that we're getting on this record. I have input, but I'm following their lead. So with this guy, I'm just like, I really hope we're on the same page. He said exactly what I had to say about the guitar. Price-wise, the mods were tastefully done. They're already done. There's nothing you can do about it. All that stuff. So he ends up keeping that 54 Strat, and then we found a 61 335 for him, and he has that. And then he might buy the Blackguard. We're still discussing if he wants to buy it or not, but that's probably going to be. I have a feeling it's going to end up in his collection, because he was asking about a Blackguard. I found it, and I just told him, like, dude, play it. And if you don't want it, I'm not offended. But like, I really doubt you're going to be like, oh, I don't like this one. No one who's played it has said anything bad about it. It's like magic. So
it's definitely
certain things like that. And then also, oh, sorry, go on.
Well, no, I was just saying. Yeah. Go ahead.
One quick thing. So Paul brought in an 81 Tube Screamer, a real one.
Okay.
And when people talk about, oh man, the clones are just the same, and like you can get, nope, nothing sounds as good as that Tube Screamer up there. You send me any pedal and I'll A and B it with that one, and there's no way it sounds as good as that one. And there's a reason why those pedals go for $1,000, because they have a magic to them. Like, you can get close, but if you're in a studio environment like this, I mean, we're running into like a Neve board with like really high-end mics and compressors. You can hear a difference with $1,000 Tube Screamer versus a Keeley modded one, or we have an Analog Man modded one, which works better on some songs. But 99% of the stuff that we're doing and using the Tube Screamer, it's the old one, and it sounds that good. Even old TX9s have great sound.
Hence why this is the guy that has 5 Boss CE2s.
Yeah, we used 3 so far on this record, 3 or 4.
I'm guessing the silver screw is almost always the one you go to first.
Yeah, my personal one, which is the extra like beat up one, because it's really subtle. But I sold Eric Sherman, the guitar player in this band, his Black Label CE2. So it was mine. So we are using that one because it's a little more, it's not as subtle. But one thing we did was we added his with my silver screw, and made it like a doubling type of chorus where like the first one was like sort of Knobs at Midnight, just a little different, and then the other one was very subtle. So we blended the two and we had a great sound on it. As well as the Keeley modded one, we ran into a DI and mixed it and blended the signal. So there's been like 3 or 4 E2s on this record already.
Nice.
And yeah, and we also we had a couple Electro Harmonix Pogs, because Eric Sherman does some really tricky shit with these Pogs that I want to get one now and do. I've messed around with these kind of settings, but the riffs that he's writing with them are really cool. So,
Generation 1, like the first Pogs that they put out, those are stellar. Absolutely stellar. Like, I know they have the Pog 2s, but they just, to me, the first version polyphonic octave generators they sound the best. The Pog 2s don't come anywhere close to them. There's just a mojo about the big box Electro Harmonix Pog.
Yeah, there is a little bit of magic to them that, you know, people will say like, it's the same circuit, it's the same thing. It's like, well, look, you come over to my place and I'm going to A and B the two and I'm going to play them. And if you don't hear a difference, then we have different ears. I have a different ear for this, and this is why I do what I'm doing. So now we do have that big box version, and we did use it. We came up with a setting where we had 2 Pogs going into each other with some reverb, and it was like these crazy, like crashing, like synth kind of chords, like the way that they were doing it. And it didn't make the record, but it was a very cool tone that I was like, I took a picture of it and I was like, I need to save this for later. Like, I'll do something with it. Which is fun. And then same thing with the H9, you know, the Eventide H9, using that with everything. I love the Black Hole and the Space Cathedral settings for really ambient stuff. And it's got a bunch of other great stuff on there, but like I literally just keep going back to those 2 settings. Like if Eventide made a pedal that was just a dual 1 and 2 of those, I could sell my H9 and just have that.
Well, guys,
I hate to break in here, Sean, but I got to run.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I hate to cut the party short because I'm having a blast doing this, but I need to go start dinner. But Dakota, thanks so much for jumping on, man. I really appreciate it. And
my pleasure, Ben. It was a pleasure meeting you. Sorry, I took up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben was here for a lot of time before you got on. He said his piece.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the full 2.5 hours. I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this. I know that there are some questions. Maybe we'll get to them another time. To quickly wrap this up, click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. Come back next week, same bat time, same bat channel for more SPJ Live. Thank you, Dakota. Thank you, Ben. Thank you to Charlie Cooper and Emily Harris as well for joining in on this very cool live stream. And until next week, friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you all out there great tone and great health and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. We'll see you next time.
You guys.